evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a second night of week 3. I flip between A and the definite article, indefinite article, but I tell you what I'm absolutely definitively sure about is that we're going to have some decent matches tonight. I'm of course joined by the notably decent as well, Kevin AVRL. How you doing, my dude?
Decent's good. I'll take decent. That's a fair
You're
award
a decent
to give.
guy, yeah.
I don't mind it, you know. Sometimes, mostly, I try to be. Decent is what I'm hoping for today. We close out week 3. It's 3 weeks now. We're actually halfway through. We're actually more than halfway through because halfway mark ended last night. Officially today. As soon as we get into the first map and the first match, we will be 50% of the way through the regular season. So it's moving along. Definitely.
Yeah, we're starting to get there, and last night especially was, I think, where we really started to see some of the expected delineations, if you will, of what kind of seeds we're expecting teams to fall into towards the latter half of the group stages, where we sort of expected they would finish based purely off the power rankings, and we're just starting to more or less see those expectations come to life. So obviously, to remind you, halfway through that group stage, the round robin of the regular season, still got the play-ins and the playoffs to go, and right now these teams are basically fighting to not be 5th place. It's starting to look more and more solidified which teams are going to end up in which seeds just based on who has beaten and lost against who. The remaining seeds A3, B3, A4, B4 will go into the play-in tournament. 2 teams will emerge out of that who will join the first and second seeds of each group in the playoffs.
And so, long story short, as we said yesterday as well, top 4 is what matters here. You don't want to be the last place in your group because then you get eliminated, and then obviously the seeding matters going into play-ins and playoffs as well, where, ultimately top 6 teams is what we're looking for to crown a grand champion. Pretty much following a similar kind of format to the Overwatch League postseason that's about to become quite relevant as well. But now that we at the halfway mark of the season, we're starting to really get a strong sense of where teams are placing, where they're getting points, where the wins are as well, and most of the expectations of who was going to be strong coming in from the preseason and based on what happened in Season 1 this year as well, and then also who we thought was going to be a little bit middling and maybe perhaps a bit weaker. That's all kind of been standardized in where we thought it was going to be. There's been nothing really strange happening here. There's been nothing surprising about where these teams have landed.
Yeah, like we sort of said, this has been exactly to expectations so far, and the deeper we get into the group stages, the less likely we are to see major upsets and major changes. I feel like at this point, the most likely quote-unquote upsets will actually be more who ends up taking the bottommost seed and gets eliminated, because obviously the eyeball test would say it should be JNGK and Incendia, but obviously last night BM Hawk versus JNGK wasn't the most super comfortable pickup as it was, so there's a world where JNGK could overcome Starlight, or maybe even Starlight could overcome BM Hawk, and obviously over in Group B, WGS Phoenix, the 0-2 record. Look, it's not as clear-cut as it seems. They've played against some pretty tough customers so far. There's maybe some wiggle room for them still, but point still being, this is more or less starting to land exactly as per expectations.
So yeah, again, nothing really strange happening here. There has been a couple of small roster additions to a few of the teams, Incendia Evolutions. One of them, we'll have a talk about that when we see the roster eventually as well. But to sort of outline the matches tonight, so we're going to take another good look at O2 Blast a little bit later on. Currently, you'd say definitely season favorites next to Talon Esports. So 2 of the teams from the finals of last season, our current number 1 and number 2, or our current top 2 teams across the board in terms of both groups A and B, Incendia Evolution and Starlight Gaming, who, on one hand, Incendia Evolution is the most recent Trials team. Starlight Gaming was that same team from last season. Didn't really get the wins last season. I think they went winless last season completely. And maybe this time they'll have an opportunity to at least come in 4th. That would keep them safe from elimination. Incendia Evolution is trying to avoid 5th place. WGS Phoenix, we had a good look at over the course of these couple of weeks where they've already played a couple of games. They haven't quite won a match just yet. They have 1 map versus GC Busan, and that's kind of it. And now this should be their quote-unquote winnable game. And in a ways as well, when you look at WGS Phoenix in this group, you already have Talon Esports and CC kind of locking out number 1 and number 2 as expected. Team Diamond or GC Busan Team Diamond probably number 3, which means this specific match right here between WGS and Incendia Evolution probably determines number 4 and number 5.
Yeah, that I think is a very fair assessment. And obviously, WGS, yeah, they haven't picked up those wins, unfortunately, and with one of those losses being to GC Busan, who themselves lost to Team CC. Yeah, you're not necessarily expecting the WGS are going to go ahead and pick up a win against CC, especially when it was such a one-sided match favoring CC. We kind of commented on this last night, actually. The result, the overall takeaway from last night is that the gulf in each group between the first and second seeds and the remaining 3 in each group is enormous. Really, those other 3 teams are fighting for seed positionings, and they're fighting to not be eliminated in 5th place. And to that end, the second matchup tonight is really just going to be O2 Blast staying the course and obviously putting the heat further onto Starlight. Let's just go ahead and recap the hero pools, of course, exactly the same as what we've had the previous nights, the previous weeks. We will have this the entirety of the group stages as well. So we've already started to see pretty clearly the favored picks of this particular meta, and you've sort of identified Hanzo as kind of being the locus, if you will, that a lot of things are revolving around right now. But within that, we've had a significant amount of difference in how teams are actually choosing to try and execute on their comps.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, I think 2 clear compositions that are really coming through right now. It's either a ball-based composition rather, or an Orisa-based one that's going to formulate around what your main tank is playing. Within those, there's a few different variations in terms of where the DPS may land. You know, Hanzo's been a surprisingly high-impact pick across the board for every single composition, and that's a hero that most teams have started to move heavily towards, and yeah, I mean, why not? Every single team that is getting a high-impact Hanzo is getting a lot of excellent results out of it. So let's take a look at the map pool here as well, which doesn't reflect exactly what we're going to be playing this week. That'll come in just a hot second here. But generally speaking, when you look at this map pool, Control's been the same, Assault's been the same. We've been playing the 5 maps on Control and the 3 maps on Assault pretty much the entire way through. It's the Hybrid and Escort that does change from season to season in terms of what becomes available. So very good map pool as well, I would say, especially when you look at Escort for Orisa-based compositions, which is maybe another reason why that specific hero and that specific comp has come into a lot of favorability.
And what we'll actually see as well, obviously when we get to the map lineup for tonight, we go Busan into Blizzard World, into Route 66, into Nepal. But that's a little bit later on down the line. Let's go ahead and zero in on that first matchup. We've already kind of dressed this one up a little bit as kind of like the battle for 4th place. And that's an important battle because obviously 5th place gets eliminated. Expectation would naturally be Incendia Evolution being the newcomers that kind of have the most to prove here still, which means I feel like they're the ones who have to fight the most for this. WGS Phoenix here, they've suffered a couple of pretty brutal losses, but not entirely unexpected losses, with maybe the exception of the one against GC Busan. But even then, look, someone's got to lose that closer matchup. They still, on paper, look like the better team here, and I would dare say, based off the relative execution we've seen in these teams as well, they are currently the better of the 2.
What's what you'd feel, especially because Incendia Evolution is kind of a new team, and here we are now that we see their roster. The player that I immediately have to talk about right now is Top Dragon, because this guy is, when I've seen him in Contenders China, just when I have a rare glance over there, one of their top players. He's been an incredible player that has had, you know, such incredible performances. That's being now coming back to Contenders Korea. Actually, I don't even know if he's played in Contenders Korea before, so this might actually be his debut in Contenders Korea, just looking over his previous history. But he has been across the Gen G pipeline in their academy teams. He's been on Tiger Nation as well, which is the Gen G academy team there. Most recently, he was on First Fabulous Fighter on loan. So Triple F was, I believe, at the peak of roughly a top 4-ish kind of Contenders China team, so fairly competitive, and Top Dragon was one of the key pieces of that team, and now he's returned to Korea, and he will be bringing over some, I would say, much needed performances on mostly projectile heroes. So I mean, definitely expect the Hanzo to be in there if they want to move into that today for IE. This does, however, put Incendia Evolution's roster in terms of the DPS players up to 5. So they now have 5 DPS players, assuming nobody got dropped. And last week when we saw them play, they actually rotated all 4 of the DPS players across the match they played.
They're going to have to really breakneck it if they want to rotate in 5 DPSs in what could be as little as 3 games. So we'll see how they actually handle it. I mean, obviously that's possible, don't get me wrong. It would just be a lot of chopping and changing. And obviously in the last match we saw of them you know, the chopping and changing, I don't know how much of an impact it really had, I guess, but they did lose that match. It's not like that's the reason they lost or anything, but certainly wasn't a difference maker in their ability to win, it felt. But that being besides the point, I think it's high time we go ahead and take a look at the other side of the aisle with WGS Phoenix. And I think with WGS Phoenix, we're a little bit more comfortable with them at this point in time. We kind of know where the strengths lie, especially in the likes of Vulture on the DPSs. Albam really came up big when we first saw him over the last couple of weeks, so I'm continuing to expect decent things out of them, but the results kind of speak for themselves. That's the unfortunate thing, and it's the thing we always say with Contenders Korea, right? Like, there's so many good teams that even, like, functionally powerful teams or like perfectly decent teams, to go ahead and bring that word back, aren't actually able to accomplish high finishes because the competition is so genuinely stiff.
I think WGS had a reasonable performance versus GC Busan though, so I think that's kind of where you look at this team and you have some level of confidence, because GC Busan has they've been like a solid middle of the pack team in their group so far. We saw them last night. They played up against Team CC, where there was a draw in there, there was a map win in there. I mean, we can, you know, get into the granularity of like, oh, who should have won where and what could have happened for CC, and maybe they could have full held, but the end result is a 1-in-3 for Team Diamond, for GC Busan here, where, you know, where this relates back to WGS is WGS then had a very similar result versus GC Busan in that first week, which was the same 3-1 result, of which WGS was on the one side, but there was also that draw on Hanamura as well. And I think that was that draw as well that I correctly called. I was like, very early on, I was like, I think this one's going to be a draw. And that ended up being, I think, one of the only 2 draws we've actually had so far this season. So
the other one being just last night, actually.
Be thankful that we've only had 2 draws. We'll see how the rest of this goes. But yeah,
I'm going to bring that up at Thanksgiving this year. I'm going to be like, what are you thankful for? And I'm going to be like, I'm thankful that you don't
even celebrate Thanksgiving. So
we only had 2 draws at the week 3 break mark of Contenders Season 2 group stages.
As WGS, I think because they had a reasonable performance versus GC Busan, that's kind of where, you know, if you're going to stratify how the rankings go, you'd probably put WGS on paper right below GC Busan or right below CC.
Yeah, I think that's honestly exactly where they're sitting at. The question now, obviously, is are they above Incendia? You know, again, all signs point towards yes. That's kind of what the expectation is, and let's be completely clear about one thing. Every single match so far this season has proceeded to expectation. I would say with maybe the one exception being GC Busan versus WGS Phoenix, just because that was maybe the closest one to call so far, but even then, the general expectation was that GC Busan would be the better of the 2. So, like, we're expecting that trend to continue. There's every opportunity that it doesn't. Also, I've just realized, fair forewarning to everyone, at some point in the night, my phone is going to go off with an alarm. There's nothing I can do about it. Come to peace with it now. If you hear what sounds like a terrible siren, no, like, there is nothing I can do about it.
You could just literally put it in the next room, or you should out your window, or you've done that before, but accidentally, by the way. Or, you know,
I have done
put it
that
under your pillow,
accident.
or I don't know, put it underwater.
And I'm not going to do any of those things. Instead, I'm going to hold it as close to my microphone as possible, so that everyone else has to hear the horrible noise when it happens. That's happening. Come to peace with it now. I'm giving you all fair warning. And that's the most I'm willing to actually do for the comfort of the audience.
Because there's a tsunami coming. I did get that warning.
It's to do with lockdowns. I had a warning earlier today as well that the power grid might be strange this evening, so let's hope that's not a problem. Here we are with the map set, and as I said, Busan into Blizzard World into Route 66, and then if we decide we're not done, if we decide we want a little bit more, if the scriptwriters have extended out for a few extra episodes, then we'll go to Temple of Anubis and Nepal, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll cross that plot bridge when we come to it, I suppose.
So we still have had, I think, over the course of the season, no 3-2 results. So we've had, what, 9 3-0s, and 4 3-1s, of which 2 of those 3-1s also included a draw, so we technically have gone to map 5. We just haven't had that 3-2 results. So,
yeah,
I mean, if this is a close game, this could be that one. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that O2 Blast versus Starlight probably not going to be a 3-2. So, if that's going to happen,
that's pretty...
it might be this one.
Pretty bold prediction of you to make there, man. I don't know about that, but, but as we have it, both teams just going to make the standard Symmetra teleporter play. I don't think Inocast is... Yeah, there we go. There's the change up. There was no way he was actually going to be on a hog for the whole thing, and pretty clean rotations at the point. Actually, Vulture's wanting to stick... No, never mind, I lied. He's going over to a Tracer.
Yeah, don't tempt anybody to roll out on a hog. It would be a sight, not a good one at that. So up Dragon over towards the Soldier Assault, double hit scan, very similar composition to what we saw yesterday from CC. Both the mortality fields have been spent.
That's huge as well. Yuena going down. Arpen, though, is a lack of a shield, so now it's just the free-firing DPSs of Incendia, and that's looking like it's barely edging them out, even as these members are quite low. They're having lost Frong, though, is a bit of a tough break, but obviously WGS in worse shape, and that will do it. The clean up there, the rotation now to the point for Incendia. Pretty clean all up. It was just a one-to-one trade with a very clear delineation of which team it favored.
And a lot of healing coming through from Peach as well, who now has a rally up and ready for the next fight, so it's already IE looking towards fair advantages across the board for most of their players. I mean, Arpen's only on 37, Inocast is far and away taking the lead in terms of the supercharger. It's the windows though. It comes down to Ant Matrix. Those will come down first. Wrong drops it in. IE haven't really backed out. They're going to challenge.
Yeah, oh, that's a really big halt actually to pull everyone in. Keeps Arpen in the firing line, and that's just kind of going to play Dam Buster. As now WGS having to rotate out. They are able to do so, but means the investment was worthwhile for Incendia where it wasn't quite for WGS.
Similarly, Dam Buster is what you would say if you're an older person trying to critique a younger person.
Damn, Buster.
As IE now, 5 ultimates, 1 window spent, the Ant Matrix gone, and that's all they needed to win that last fight. WGS still just waiting for a couple key more. Yep. With the Deadeye, does zone a little bit, buys them more time. It's only 50% now for IE.
They're happy with that because look at what has to be fought through. That's a really nice takedown. Actually, a lot of damage going on to Inocast as well as getting rid of the supercharger, but it's been healed handily off. The rally helping big time with that. Top Dragon wasn't all that impactful up on that high ground. They're having to kind of make up for that now, but Yuena on the low ground having no issues. Kind of holding the brawl down as WGS again just kind of throwing themselves at a cinder block wall and finding it's not as bouncy as they were expecting.
And you haven't really seen enough flank pressure from Vulture to justify the Tracer either, so and maybe it's too late to drop this and go for something else. I mean, you're close enough to a pulse bomb anyway. It will come down to another Ant Matrix fight. Both teams have that. And there's not going to be any rallies, but both self-destructs are available. So, I mean, one of the key counters is going to be just self-destructing forward when you see the Ant Matrix come on through. Both do come now.
Pretty straightforward stuff again, just a pitched battle. Incendia got the better end of that last one. I mean, even if all that happens is they both just kind of wait it out, that still favors Incendia, who now push into final fight. That's a nice lobbing up of the self-destruct. Yeah, catches a Frody who was trying to get his own one back. It only found the immortality field as well. Oh.
Like I said, Vulture needed to touch. Somehow Vulture died to the self-destruct. I think what happened there...
he died. He just straight up died to McCree. He didn't even die to the self-destruct.
I think what happened there was he might have... it could have been that he went towards the point, touched it, recalled back, and just ends up dying. Or maybe he stood on the point the entire time and possibly Yuena just got that kill. In either case, that was the only member that could have made that touch happen. WGS weren't able to rotate fast enough on a slow composition. Kind of doomed to fail. They needed to start a fight maybe about 5-ish seconds early and set up for an Matrix play, but when you're fighting for space and the cap's going away, it's kind of bad news there. So you need to see WGS have a much better and earlier start here. It's going to be Hanzo Tracer coming on through versus Sombra Tracer on the other side. And actually, Inocast on the ball, which is a little bit more favored for this specific sub-map. Arpen staying on the Orisa.
I do very much appreciate the decision being taken here. Now, it's the opening skirmish. Ooh, Yuena really took a lot of heat there. They're able to slip out alive. That's important, but it does give WGS a bit of a leg up in the fight, and they immediately pounce. They find out Frong. Nice advantages being taken here, and quick close off on these kills as well. That's a good amount of cleanup spread quite evenly across the team members. They'll be able to rotate, get the point cap, and anchor down on the Orisa, which is super important.
Just straight away get the flex support, gets the other flex support on the other side. It's a wrong killing Frong, and I enjoy saying that the rest of the night as IE will lose that first opening fight when it goes over towards the Hanzo to match hidden, and WGS will have opening cap and looking towards first ultimates coming online as well.
And now WGS just right where they need to be. We'll have to see how Vulture does with this pulse bomb as Inocast. It's got a mighty big shield, but Not exactly getting the big moves in that he's looking for, finally able to go in aggressively. Nice immortality field deployed, but very quickly taken out. Important trade there, but up and down is the real heartbreaker. They have the supercharger available. The rally is keeping them in the fight. Peach committing his own rally, but Afrodi is going to go down, and among all that, Pulse Bomb wide from Vulture. Top Dragon still holding on to his. Not anymore. He's not even held on to his own head. WGS, bit of a rough start, I got to say, but they're able to steer through it.
Now hitting nice shots there as well. Hanzo now has the Dragon Strike available for WGS, so despite the really good engage from IE, I mean, you see Inukast in there straight away when Wrong wants to use the Ant Matrix, play for disruption. You're either going to try and leave and not blink that Matrix at all, or you were going to play directly into it aggressively, use that Wrecking Ball, slam directly down and see how it goes. Supercharge in now, and Dragon Strike caught.
Oh, that's a really big pickup, actually. That's an important break point as well. And now Uena dies. As much as they lost the supercharger quite early, this is still a really big advantage for WGS. They have lost the immortality field, though, so Wrong down. They need to get aggressive. I think maybe they've played it a little bit too close to the chest with his DPS ultimates. So now there's a few members down. They're just kind of having to scrap and brawl to win this one. Oh, that's a huge kill. Inokast was nearly dead as well. IE should actually be able to get the rest of this fight. Now Frong's going to be coming back in. Nice fight with the Pulse Bomb, actually, but Inokast is still in there, still causing an absolute havoc. That's a really nice pick off late in the day as well. Incendia should be able to finish the cap now.
I mean, that's the one member they struggle to kill, is the Inokast. Everybody else has gone down at various stages. WGS will still hold on to this until at least, I would say, 99. Now they lose the Meki on Bonnet, which is not ideal. Technically speaking, they could have played the ultimates if they wanted to. You know, if they had 6 members available and they play for the Ant Matrix into a Dragon Strike, I could see them really challenging for that point. Again, at minimum, they probably force Transcendence from Frong. Without their Diva there, WGS will give it up and they'll reset for another fight as they have a huge lead as far as percentage goes.
So, WGS now, it's final fight territory, potentially. They are at a slight disadvantage. And Hidden at this point, I mean, Uena's going to get 2 Dragon Strikes for Hidden's one. Yeah, the first one got eaten by Bono, but even so, it's just low value for WGS. Pulse Bomb goes wide from Top Dragon. Speaking of dragons, there's the Dragon Strike from Hidden now, just running across. Uena had pretty good, collected his own out as well across the point. Arpen, the first casualty, bit of a sitting duck to Inokast. It's WGS with the rally running. I still have these defensive ultimates, and WGS don't exactly have any inroads right now to the point.
I mean, the only 2 ultimates they had, well, actually 3 of them, they had rally there as well, which has been used now, as WGS can't really make much hay off this rally. Speaking of which, people use it on the other side, and IE look to pick up to clean and finish this fight pretty cleanly.
Yeah, Wrong's still alive there. That's actually a bit of an overcommit from Incendia, who thought they had him isolated, but they didn't respect the extra little bit of rally armor, the immortality field, and just all the self-heal that he was able to toss down. So this has opened something up now. Both support ultimates were used by IE in that weird little scrap, and now WGS just have a straight mad advantage. This ends up being exactly what they need. They're going to be able to finish off with Frody. They've got the supercharger down on the 99%. You'll see Inokast come onto the point before long to stall out, but I don't think he's going to last too long around here. WGS now just looking to hold high. There we go.
Can't even do the secondary touch. And that swing just comes through from the fact that Vulture gets a nice stick onto a Peach, which cancels the rally.
Yep.
Frong goes into a pretty desperate Transcendence, which saves his team for a while, but once Transcendence is finished, goes down as well with IE, no supports alive. WGS will take over, but up until that point, it's looking really good for IE. They had a couple of great kills coming through as well, but no supports, no win is typically how Overwatch goes, and towards the end there as well, because WGS were already on 99. Incendia Evolution massively pressured, could only touch the one time, couldn't get the second touch, and I would even argue maybe if Inokast got the second touch, would have been melted pretty quickly, and IE probably still lose there. We go to the decider now. Third map, Mecha Base here with Arpen still staying on the Orisa and Inokast staying on the ball. And now this is one of those sub-maps where ball is maybe not as favored, so we'll see how Arpen does versus this.
WGS just kind of posturing up now. Vulture needs to get that flank pressure down. There we go. Shots across, finds Frong, and a quick dive to follow up on a Frody. A Peach low will go down. There we go. WGS. That was a very clean and tidy opening engagement. In fact, not a single casualty, and everyone but Inokast going down.
And this is one of those moments as well where WGS could have also, if they wanted to, roll out with Vulture onto a Soldier. That's kind of what other teams have been going so far. Dragon will go now over towards the signature Genji, so this is going to be a double bubble composition. And a boost is going to be fairly far away though, so a bit of a fresh charge coming through from IE there. Pretty much reset across the board on all 6 of their heroes. Looking
pretty solid so far for WGS. Not quite any ultimates available, but they should be able to get that Immortality Field up. Sorry, the Amp Matrix up, rather, well in advance of Incendia being ready for a decent push.
You find that it's actually quite interesting here as the Peach goes over towards Anna when a Peach was the break play and Frong goes on to a fresh break. So it's almost like their flex support, who's normally on the Zenyatta, doesn't also play the Anna. So it's a little bit weird in that case. Did see a kill into InnoCast there, so slowing things down further. WGS already had a fairly insurmountable lead on our last submap, and they're not likely going to get another one here. And Matrix used.
I feel like, for the record, I feel like I've seen Frog on Ana as well before. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that being beside the point, first the window going to be laid out. Not getting a great view through it, but even so, it does slow down Incendia, who aren't exactly ready to go on much. They're just going to go ahead, put a Nanoboost onto InnoCast, goes straight into the Supercharge. It does get the Immortality Field. That's a big bio nade. That's actually going to be enough to open it up. A Peach ends up absolutely landing his mark. I was a little bit dubious about that. I sort of go, well, look at the ultimates they've got. They'll likely get a rally. They've got a self-destruct to preserve mech, and there's going to be all the extra damage, but just the Nano Boost and a huge Bionade end up being enough to win it for IE.
Absolutely. I mean, that's massive. You see Frong going down there, but it's a very minuscule trade considering how many members WGS were losing. And reset now on 72%, which is still quite a fair lead, but they're going up against a fair few ultimates now, especially when there is Grav online as well. Frong dead again. That's another first target.
InnoCast is forced to primal as well, was brought down within a hair's breadth, and now it's another nice Bionade, but this time the Immortality Field is still up a little bit later. Albam does die. Oh, wrong as well. That's big. I was going to say Bono can reset the mech, but no, InnoCast just goes on an absolute tear. That forced out primal rage because he was about to die ends up being absolutely huge for them. With that WGS, I mean, you've still got Vulture sort of in this one, but Uena is doing so much work cleaning up that WGS are out of it already.
And thankfully, you know, IE are running enough of a dive where their Genji and their Tracer can still follow up on the Grav. It's looking pretty shaky, honestly. The Frody drops a pretty massive Grav on Surge, but there wasn't a lot of damage being piled into it early on. You had to really wait until the DPS were in position. They suddenly dive in, clean up a couple targets, suddenly double supports the WGS down. Now the Blade coming on through now, looking good so far.
All right, solid. And yeah, they're going to find Arpen as well. This should be them pretty handily evening up the lead. There we go, getting the mileage out of it. Not a combo we often see really go off to great effect, but that felt pretty on the mark.
Especially the fact that, okay, you know, you do see a wrong coming through with the Amplification Matrix, and IE, they want to play into it. So another situation where they don't want to give up ground. You want to play right into the window, dashing on through. Now the rally to maybe finish this off. It's IE looking in a good position. Now the big Bionade.
That's huge. Nice fight on Uena's Pulse Bomb, but honestly, everyone's so low and ends up timing out so flawlessly as well. They get a couple back, but it's Vulture really in the fight with a wrong at his tail. Bono is slept for the time being. Arpen's going to try and hoon in. Okay, they do have the overtime. I panicked for a hot second. Vulture going down is really big. IE are actually well ahead in this one right now. Arpen is back in the mix, but you've still got Uena with it on lockdown. InnoCast coming in hot as well, still on the Winston. A Peach from a distance with the healing. A Frody gets brought low. Top Dragon will get taken out. Bono D-Mech, nice bump back to sort of help mitigate the effects of this dead eye. It's mostly just a zoning dead eye. The flip actually comes through halfway through, so it's a bit of a breathing room now made for WGS. I can do words, I'm good at that.
It's got to be Nano Boost into Primal Rage now. InnoCast even pops a Primal Rage slightly early there, or forgive him, as you just want to make sure this Matrix isn't going to get used to full effect here, and we might have some isolation targets possibly on a wrong. That'll be the first target down. Okay,
finally takes it down, ends up trading himself for it, which is a little unfortunate. Frody is still actually quite low, nearly on a Grav, may just be able to toss it out. Actually, Arpen's dead and Bono's D-Mech, so now it's Frody being the only tank in the game. Perfect Grav. The follow-up is there for the DPS, and now WGS just too lean. Nice dive and fort for Top Dragon's going to stop Hidden from getting into the mix. Vulture's not near enough. The 99 to 99 to bring it home to the end one. Unless WGS pull out an absolute miracle, Vulture would have to play out of his mind. Far better than what we've seen so far out of him, I dare say. Failing that, i.e. Incendia Evolution should be able to close out Mecha Base here.
It's looking like it. Last self-destruct coming on through now. Albam trying to risk the situation with a rally. And they do have Top Dragon down, but the rally turn from IE can still be pretty good. They have to keep the members alive though. Peach and InnoCast both low.
I nearly got a little bit split out there. That could have been really big, but Bono's looking to get DMX a second time here. Albam didn't get as much mileage out of his rally as you saw in IE, and like you said, the high energy on a Frody who still didn't die. Remember earlier I pointed out there was a point where he was the sole tank left in the fight between the two teams. Hold on, that's big! A double on the pulse bomb! That might have just rescued. I said Vulture would need to play out of his mind. I said it what feels like about a minute ago. He finally pulls it out, and now it's Inocast's turn to desperately dive for the point of Frody. Has to come in on a D.Va, can't get there in time. That is bonkers. What a turnaround.
IE, what's going on here though? I mean, that's kind of defeat from the jaws of victory in a way, because they had the final nano boost. You know where it goes? It goes onto a Wrong's Brigida there. I'm a little surprised because at that exact moment in time, a Frody on the high charge Zarya was still alive. And I expected a nano to go onto the Zarya. Obviously, casting the ball is dead. You probably don't want to be nanoing a ball anyway, but you're going to nano any day of the week a 99 charge Zarya. I mean, that's huge amounts of damage, plus the 50% extra damage and damage reduction. So that would have been the perfect target to me, and if Frody was dying. So what better situation to throw out a nano? It is possible that the nano got applied to the wrong person. Maybe a Wrong got in the way. Maybe a piece just misclicked the wrong target, because it seems kind of strange to me that if Frody dies almost like half a second later as soon as the nano comes on through. To me, it seems like a Peach's intention was to nano the Zarya, which would have been correct, but it just ends up going to the wrong target. And that, if that's what happened, it ends up costing them that sub-map and overall the entire map of Busan. If it wasn't what happened and they actually intentionally nano their Brig, well, that's just the wrong call. So either way you cut it, they made the wrong call. It was a mistake.
Which is really unfortunate because it ends up being so costly. And I mean, it's one of those things where, look, yeah, nanoing the wrong person often is a pretty punished mistake when it happens, but like, often it's just the case of like, okay, a fight now flips back the other way, or, the rest of the team has to work a bit harder. And even then, like, they were still doing well in the fight anyway, in spite of all of that. It wasn't until suddenly you get a self-destruct kill, and then also just a huge double on the pulse bomb out of Vulture. Like, they were in a pretty good situation, even with that mistake there. And it ends up being that a little bit after that, what could have been an easy closeout in the fight, there was just that window left open that should have realistically been closed. Vulture's able to come up big right at a clutch moment. And then it flips back the other way because both teams were tied up. It now goes from Incendia winning the first game to losing the first game. Like, that is about as singularly punishing as that mistake can possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that a nano boosted Zarya at high charge would have carried that last fight. Yeah, that would have been too much damage to survive against, even with the pulse bomb stick coming on through. Yeah, great pulse bomb stick. Vulture really came together there when, you had the Zarya going down anyway, which is the highest value target. Then you get a double kill. I mean, it's over after that. There is a chance that even with the double pulse bomb kill, that maybe a Frody, if he was still alive with a nano, still carries the fight as a solo Zarya that is just actually a raid boss at that stage. But the way the chips fell here, really unfortunate for IE when I thought they were in a winning position, but great clutch from WGS. And we expected WGS to be the better team coming through today.
We did.
But honestly, after that performance, and especially seeing how I thought it was going to end, I'm pleasantly surprised that IE put up more than a fight. In fact, I thought IE were going to win that entire map, which means, hey, maybe we get a pretty close series on our hands here.
That's kind of my expectation now moving forward. Obviously, sometimes Control can just kind of be the outlier, so I'll hedge my bets, I suppose, until we've actually seen the far side of Blizzard World. Because obviously, I think, especially if Incendia had actually won this first map, then even if they got onto Blizzard World and just didn't quite do as well or something like that, you could still kind of hold that torch high and go, well, they've got opportunities to turn it back around. Now, if we move off Control, and actually there is a little bit of a gap between these two teams that favors WGS, then Incendia are going to find themselves in a losing situation very quickly, which is very unfortunate. So let's go ahead and take a look now, moving on to Blizzard World.
It's funny as well, so I think Incendia Evolution had a better run on their initial Orisa composition, which I believe they brought out on, what was it, the downtown map, and that seemed like, at least in the mirror, they were getting far superior advantages. They had the double hit scan, which I'll say is definitely going to be in the mirror matchup better than running a Tracer there. You have far less shield pressure when it's McCree Tracer versus like McCree Soldier, or even better if it was Hanzo Soldier. That would be extreme. So WGS kind of lost that mirror in the sense that I just felt like their comp was overall weaker. But when we had the Incendia Evolution ball versus then Arpin staying on the Orisa the rest of the time, WGS, huge lead on our next two sub-maps on, you know, both Mecha Base and also Sanctuary. Obviously, played in the opposite order there, Sanctuary first. So,
Sure.
as we move into Blizzard World, we have seen a lot of teams attacking and defending on ball first, but we've also seen a lot of Orisa play on B and C. So, leads me to believe that if you are a strong Orisa team, like WGS seem to want to be playing today, and that's been kind of their history as well over the last two matches, they're going to start with Orisa on A, and scale it all the way through the rest of the map, and IE are not going to start on that. They haven't made any substitutions, by the way, so IE last week, again, went through the entire DPS line across the three maps here. They're going to stick with the UN and Top Dragon.
I honestly can't blame them. It certainly felt like 1-to-1, they were largely outperforming their counterparts on WGS. I certainly noticed the difference between Vulture and Uena in terms of the Tracer play, and then obviously we saw a little bit of a, I don't want to say hard difference necessarily, but just the ultimate usage out of Hidden was maybe a little bit too conservative, a bit too close to the chest. That being said, Incendia going to be running the ball comp on the offense. Actually, Uena doesn't fancy the Hanzo, wants to change off it. No Super Shimada brothers, they want the double dive.
So this is what they ran just on Mecha Base. The before is going to be obviously Nano Blade is the name of the game here. Difficult composition to run up against. I still think Genji going into, you know, you have a break back line, you have the flashbang from Hidden as well. It is tough for a Genji to play here. So, see what happens as the first thing we're looking for, once again, in all these compositions, all these matchups, is the first Nano. So, the Peach is probably behind the mark currently, needs to catch up.
Yeah, a little unfortunate because you did see Inakas taking a fair chunk of damage, but not quite enough to really start to add up for a Peach. Now Frody getting brought low. WGS, they know they have an opportunity. They press a little bit forward. They need to make sure to not have anyone get traded out because they did lose the Immortality field, but they are going to be just fine, even shutting down the late flank that tried to go for wrong, and now even a follow-up headshot. That's really big results for WGS actually on that defense.
Late kill to Top Dragon there as well, just to lose a little bit more time, and so we'll be about 2:30 before a Peach and IE are ready to go for any sort of nano boost dive. The only good news here is that Inocast is close to Primal, and that usually doesn't happen when you're playing this type of composition, as your Winston is not expected to get a lot of early damage done. Speaking of early damage done, something that's not expected is WGS just pushing aggressively on an Orisa. Most teams don't do that, so it's a bit of a surprise. You see that IE got caught out by it. They didn't expect Arpen to walk up, and Arpen walked up and got a lot done there. And instantly has Primal.
Yep, pretty straightforward stuff. Now Inacast just going to try and buffet everyone about. No real corner traps. Hidden's able to slip away. That's really big. The late start to Arpen, though, and a nice bio nade. Even as they lose Top Dragon as he comes charging through, pardon me, he's at least taken a couple down with him. Inacast doesn't quite stay alive, so now really it's just a Frody, but he has enough charge that with the two supports at his back, he's effectively a DPS. I think they should be just fine with the closer respawns.
I mean, that was great. They went in very quickly there from IE as soon as they had the Nano available. And thankfully for them as well, you know, Cass had that Primal to play into afterwards, and it's a timing such that a wrong is going to drop down the amplification matrix, and instantly IE is going to be ready to play around it. Inocast in there with the Primal Rage. In fact, that's why I think he popped the Primal Rage. Sure, he took a lot of damage as well, but the way you really want to disrupt the amp matrix is just to drop down in the middle of it, use your Primal Rage, swing your arms around, and just disrupt anybody from being able to get that done. Allbam also died on 99%, so they didn't quite get a chance to use the rally.
And now, double rally running. That's a really big catch from Bono. That's a big opportunity now opened up. Also the Deadeye. Oh, I was going to say it zones out the Blading Genji. It actually does one better and kills him outright as well. This is a huge result for WGS.
Yep, all 6 down as well. It's going to be full ace coming on through. IE get wiped out. And no Nano to come on through. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't coordinate the Dragon Blade with the Nano at the same time, but Nano can now be used on Inocast. I guess losing the Grav is the biggest deal there. And you can see a sort of situation where maybe IE thought, okay, we're going to Grav, and oops, the Grav got eaten away. Top Dragon perhaps got a little bit desperate there and thought, well, I'm going to have to do something. Pops in the Blade, fails. Inocast now barely gets Primal.
Ooh, yeah, that's really tight on timing. Finds Hidden. A wrong going to go down off to the side as well. Inacast opening this one back up. It's an important stoppage there for WGS, though. If they can continue to slow things down across B, then they could potentially get a full hold towards the later stretch of it. But for now, IE, momentum is back on their side.
I think WGS twice now have maybe kind of underestimated how much damage Inocast has done, because they drop another amplification matrix, which instantly gets disrupted by the Primal Rage. And WGS, if they knew the Primal was there, might have chosen differently. They might have opted for a different strategy. They might have held further back. But here, I mean, they lose another important ultimate that gets traded because Inocast just had the damage, he had their ultimate here. Speaking of damage.
Yep, that's a really nice find. This is going to keep momentum on their side, and they just sort of get the old divide and conquer as they split off a couple of the squishier, juicier targets. Nobody going down there on the side of IE. This is going to be a real clean match at the end, so that early stoppage completely made up for now by IE.
That's a clean fight as well. I mean, that's all 6 down. Pulse bomb onto Elbam, and then the rest of them don't even have to use ultimate, so IE get another chance now to make this grab happen. Hopefully it doesn't get eaten away again. And now they have a Nano Blade. That's the one thing we haven't seen. We've seen Nano into Inocast twice. No Nano Blade just yet, though.
Now IE, just looking to keep that momentum, as we were saying. They've got a good amount of time here. They could even get a full cap out of this raid as Top Dragon going in with the Nano. Here's now the Blade to follow it up, and no zoning Deadeye this time. This is looking to be pretty clean. Way up in the sky, they will be able to find Aronk and match it jump for jump. Look at that. No casualties on IE. Only the 2 ultimates invested as well.
Another 6k, another full clean ace. As, I mean, Vulture and Hidden drop down ultimates. And their Vulture, by the way, got slayed by a Peach. So, insult to injury. Your Tracer play couldn't even get a flank going. Just instantly got nailed by a Sleep Dart via Peach. Grab's still available, so now eyes on the grab.
Now just pushing forward here, Inocast once again. They've already taken out the supercharge. The grabs look pretty decent. Self-destruct, nope, not going to be able to turn anything around for them. And yeah, look at that. Still just way on top of this fight. Afrodi's not even amazing in terms of charge, but it's just plenty enough. Arpen down. Again, IE haven't suffered a single death now in about 3 fights running.
And they've, I think, gotten a clean, almost ace here. I think, did they get 6 kills here? Nearly.
I think like 3 one person, I think Aronk might have slipped out, but I can't say for certain
close,
because
they've nearly had 3 fights clean in a row.
And now Aronk already having lost another immortality field just as quickly as he tosses it out, Hidden dead as well. So there is still a lot to contend with here. IE can't just get it for free, but they're slowly building up another Nano, keeping Inocast alive. Nice dive to fight Arpen. There's the Nano onto Inocast. Delivered immediately forward. Stick from Vulture. Nice final to a Peach, but the Blade, no, they're off the point anyway. Not able to stay on in the face of all the damage.
So being a celebration Blade there. I mean, the end of B into C was all Incendia Evolution, just rampaging on through. No stoppage in sight. Didn't lose a single fight. They barely even lost members of their own team. They had 3 almost flawless fights. 2 fights with a full ace in there. 3rd fight had 5 members down. And the last fight, I mean, yeah, we started getting a few more trades, but they got it across the line, and they still had ultimates to play through. They had a Nano, which they put onto Inocast. Top Dragon Blades right towards the end there, just for free. And everything lands. I mean, the grab lands as well. There's no more eat coming through from Bono. So WGS never got a chance to reset properly. And, you know, if you're going to play in a risky composition to feel comfortable here, you need to just kind of dig your heels and set up a bunker and have this kind of front-to-back gameplay. But IE, with their tempo, with their momentum carrying through from B to C, never slowed down in terms of keeping the foot into the gas pedal. And WGS almost just couldn't set up the defense properly at all, never.
By the way, you say started to get a couple of trades in. They got one. They got a Peach with a Pulse Bomb. That was it. That was all they found over the course of about 4 fights from the end of B. Indeed, even the start of B, actually, because they got a successful fight. Then they got wiped very efficiently, got wiped again at the end of B. 2 fights in a row on C with no lossages. Then finally on the last one, 1 kill onto a Peach. That is 1 kill in 5 rolling engagements. That is unbelievable.
It's the power of snowballing. I mean, WGS was struggling for ultimates as well. They didn't really get a chance to drop down the Ant Matrix until the very, very end. I mean, there was a second to last fight where Aronk wanted to, but his team was just down, and you can't afford to drop down an ultimate in a losing situation like that. So WGS are hoping now that they can get a clean A take, because that was the one area that was slow for IE. They had to fail a fight or 2 before they could get the Nano in. It was a slow Nano as well, so if WGS can snowball off of A, they can definitely match the time.
Ooh, that's an important find, but actually an even bigger trade out. WGS, they're definitely onto it now with no supports. It's going to be tough here as Top Dragon takes a stun. Nice gun down on Afrodi. They'll be able to find Inocast as well, and that'll do it. WGS, very timely cap, actually, and you were just talking about how important that was.
Yep, and now they're going to have first ultimates up as well, and without a Primal, Inocast is not even going to play the ball, by the way, so if you really wanted to challenge this Ant Matrix, you need at least, I think, one of those 2 things. Just a good ball dive coming on through the Pile Driver, or a Primal Rage works as well, even a Nano, but they got none of that because Frong doesn't start on the end. I believe he started on this end. So, i.e., they're fairly far behind on just about everything, except for the fact that Top Dragon has notably got a quick blade. I don't think the WGS know about this blade, but I also think it's going to be hard to put a blade in there. There's still the bring back line.
All right. Okay, Top Dragon's going to scoop up 1 with the blade, 2 with the blade, actually. That's a decent turnout. Now, is they going to fight? I mean, is this going to happen again? Are they just going to lose no members in the fight? They don't get the full wipe this time, at least, but similar to what we saw WGS do on the defense, that's a full stoppage just after the cap.
Yeah, you also have, I believe, what happens in the first swing of Top Dragon's blade, or first or second swing, he gets Allbam down with the Immortality Field at the same time. So, I mean, the question would have been, okay, you have a bad hit, what happens to the Immortality Field? It got taken down with the Brigida, so it doesn't go well for WGS trying to survive against the blade. And again, I don't think they knew the blade was available, because that was a fast blade.
That's a really big Bionade as well. Actually, WGS are going to go ahead and try and dig deep on this one. That's actually pretty good. That's essentially forced out 2 ultimates with just a Bionade investment. Now they're going to go ahead and toss in a grab. Now that they're not able to capitalize on that amplification matrix that they set out, again, they're going to do it. Look at this. Everyone but Vulture. Actually, Vulture might not even get away at this point. WGS, the full wipe, no casualties, i.e. are holding fast at the top of B.
I mean, one thing IE just does so well here is they reset the tempo of WGS, who, okay, IE, they lose the first fight, they get wiped out pretty hardcore. They got nothing coming online, but they do have the fast blade, and WGS are going to be quicker overall on the rest of their ultimates. They play a blade in there, hope it's good. All they have really is a bubble from a Frody to make it work, and now they're just snowballing further fights on the defense, up and down again.
That's absolutely huge. UN is really onto it right now. We're seeing him get so much flank pressure, and I mean, I've even got to give credit where it's due to Top Dragon. Actually, the deflect headshot is just a bit of a cute one, but I mean, even outside of that, we've actually seen very valuable Dragon Blades. We've seen him cleaning up kills with great efficiency and not ever overextending himself. And
that's the thing, because, you know, yesterday we had a lot of fun memeing a lot of the blades that came on through and just saying stuff like, how long do you think this blade will live for? Like 2 seconds? And that wasn't even, that's not even flame, that's just the truth. It just wasn't doing much. Here, Top Dragon's getting instant value, Nano Blade coming through again, and he has been flashed up, and he is surviving because of that Nano.
It's got the supports at his back. Yeah, that's at least a bit of a something. But WGS are to slip away from that one. But look at that. Top Dragon's onto it. Going to go ahead, get the wrap around. Back to the team. Now tempo fully reset. WGS still nothing gained in that engagement. Now is hidden on the long flank. Top Dragon is still there, ready for it as soon as somebody is too low. Top Dragon is always in position to scoop it up. And I mean, I was actually going to mention this before the fight. Top Dragon kind of took my attention away from it. Because of Frody's not died, he's been on about 80+ charge for the last 3 minutes.
And that's a big problem for WGS now, because normally the threat would be, okay, there's going to be a Nano coming through on either the Winston or maybe a Blade. But other than that, the neutral threat's going to come through from a Tracer and a Genji dive. But now there's more damage threats than that. Usually, when you play Zarya in this composition, Zarya plays more of a supportive role. It's not really like a high damage role. You're not expecting the Zarya to carry. But when a Frody hasn't died and he's 80+ energy, I mean, the damage threat just becomes multiplied, i.e. have threats across the board.
This is really impressive stuff at this point. Just under 2 minutes, and I'm starting to believe that IE can even fully hold out here. Arpen going to go straight in with the minefield of Frody. Pops the shield up, walks right through it. Grav out now as well. Isolating a couple of members. Pulse Bomb tossed in. Doesn't actually get the kill collect, but Hidden will still go down. It's a 3-for-1 so far, so still massive favor here for IE. The only unfortunate thing is because it's a Peach who goes down, that's not time spent charging the rally, but like that's how close to the margins IE are in terms of their advantages.
And it's been a far cry and a long time ago now that WGS were even playing that Orisa, and WGS can't afford to. They are being spawn camped right now. You can't push out with an Orisa. They've changed over to board, and they're not really getting too much done so far. Another Blade's available now.
That's so big. The rally gets, the Nano gets popped onto Top Dragon. It baits out the Transcendence. The rally's running now. That is actually decent, but Top Dragon, he's still holding on to this Blade. They aren't going to be able to commit on this one. WGS have finally found their inroad off the back of that Transcendence, but that is quite a big investment for WGS. They get it back into their control, but less than a minute left, and IE preserved a lot of tasty ultimates there.
And, well, yeah, I mean, it's good and bad news, isn't it? Because, yeah, I mean, sure, they have the Dragon Blade still available, but because Transcendence was there, Top Dragon decided not to use the Blade, probably for a good reason. You also had the rally running through from Allbam, so IE just couldn't make the trades happen. They've been targeting supports. They've been trying to get Allbam and Wrong down, but those are the two guys that were really heavily stacked up as far as HP goes. WGS now have a chance to catch up, but a long way to go in 20 seconds.
By the way, Aphrodite was roughly already matching Bono in that and the charge here on the damage. That's okay. It's a grab against tossed out. That's fine. Aphrodite's own grab. I don't know how I like that actually. I was kind of hoping that they'd go for a grab pulse bomb combo. Now they're not going to be able to clean this up for a fight win. This will probably result in actually. Oh, Uena, he's not done here, and he can stagger this one. He might as well try and go for it. No, not going to be able to stay alive. The support swans with top dragons out though with this blade. Hold on. Yep, turn straight back in. Inokaz is there with the reinforced. Now it's just Vulture trying to hang out low to the point. Closer respawn for IE. This is actually starting to turn back around for them now as Vulture's own pulse bomb gets scooped up by Aphrodite back in on the Diva. It's going to be Arpen trying to dive for it. Will just start running around the point. Nice stun to collect out onto Vulture. Forces the recall. He's now a sitting duck as Arpen's dead. Who's even able to keep staggering this one? IE, they are all over it like a rash, brother. IE are going to hold fast. It wasn't the grab pulse bomb combo. Wasn't something quite so clean and tidy, but it was still impressive.
And I take that. I mean, if you're Frody, you do have to question, okay, do you really want to go for a grab when you're losing a team fight here? But when you look at the circumstance that IE were in, which is like, hey, if we win this fight, it's actually over. There's no time left. We're in the OT here anyway. So, I mean, it's kind of worthwhile in the sense that any kill you get in this OT is going to be massively in the favor of the defense because of closer respawns when the payload's that far forward on B. And, I mean, WGS are pressured enough that, like, hey, if you get the kills, you can definitely clutch up still, and you're waiting for respawns. Aphrodite gets a couple of frags. Uena, by the way, oh my goodness, gets a freebie onto Inokaz, who was on minimal HP, kind of in the defender spawn. Couldn't get healed because the supports were on the payload, and the LOS wasn't there, and Uena gets a freebie. Goes back on the payload. Top Dragon arrives with a blade, clutches out on 2 kills, and then on top of that, there is a Pulse Bomb Eat as well. So Vulture, the only one that was still alive for WGS that could have done anything. Maybe a double frag, a double kill on the Pulse Bomb, could have done it again. Nope, gets scooped up, taken away. And that is exactly, I mean, when the Pulse Bomb is deleted, the chance for WGS to clutch and get that cap on B is deleted as well.
Yeah, you're starting to really look at this now through the lens of Incendia. You know, you reflect on Busan and go, there are a couple of great opportunities for them to win there. It almost feels like they should have been 2-0 when you consider how one-sided that Blizzard World performance was. And obviously, as we move forward, we go straight into Route 66. I wouldn't be surprised if that continues to be the case. It's almost a shame they've already played and lost to GC Busan because they already look like they're in better form than when they played against them a couple of weeks back. But you know, bygones are bygones. Incendia, if they're going to keep their playoff hopes alive, they are absolutely on the mark with it right now. We'll have to see if they continue to throw bullseye after bullseye after this short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are, of course, only partway through this first series, but you could have been fooled for thinking that we'd be at a 2-0 by this point with how much of a shutout that was for Incendia Revolution, nearly holding the cart all the way at the start of B, a position that in theory should enormously favor the attackers, and it wasn't close either. It was like really one-sided fight wins, and that's to say nothing of their attacking phase. You almost reflected it, as I was saying before the break, that it's a shame they didn't win Busan when there were a couple of critical opportunities where they could have done so. That being beside the point, now they just want to maintain the momentum, keep the holding pattern, stay ahead of WGS as we move on to Route 66.
I mean, you say you could have expected it to be a 2-0, and I think that's true, except now the 2-0 would have been in favor of Incendia Evolution, because I still look back at the Busan.
That's exactly what I said, actually. Yeah.
Was it? I thought you maybe would have said in the context of maybe WGS being a 2-0, which there would be an argument you can make for that as well, because on paper, you maybe expect that WGS should be the team that gets the 2-0 here.
Absolutely.
So it actually works both ways. It works either way you want to look at it.
I said something that was perfectly irrefutable. It is peak analysis.
But essentially what it comes down to is the one thing that you probably don't expect is the 1-1. Or maybe you do, because I were good enough to win the last map, and they're definitely, sorry, the first map, they're definitely good enough to win the last one. So really, all the results could have been expected. I think the only one you don't expect is the draw. So, there you go.
Yeah, the fools never expect the draw. Okay, shocking over Uena. I find that kind of interesting. I feel like that's going to be a compositional specific thing in terms of DPS they want to play. Yeah, he's here to play Hanzo, and Top Dragon's going to be taking up the Tracer. The only reason that's a little unfortunate is I was commenting on Uena's Tracer as being excellent thus far.
Well, now you get a chance to comment on Top Dragon's Tracer being excellent, because
it better be.
All Contenders China enjoyers know what I'm talking about here. And Shock was specifically in last week to play almost only Hanzo exclusively, for which he got a decent amount of work done, so we'll see if that happens again.
It's looking pretty decent. WGS. Hidden's actually going to go ahead and move over onto a Hanzo of his own. Kind of interesting, because there's not as many shields to bust. It's more just looking for individual picks on the likes of members like Frog, and also the extra damage you can get on a Frody if he doesn't have his stealth barrier up.
Unmitigated damage, just true damage. You know, it's just, it goes straight into the body, and that's it.
No, I don't like K-pop.
No shields, nothing of that kind so far. Cast diving in, nothing happening there. It just straight gets blocked by the shield of a Peach, and will be a bit of a reset now as WGS just prioritizing payload distance. I say that as they've actually paused payload distance for now.
Ooh, that's big. That's really big, actually, Shock getting that collect up. So not only is the payload paused, WGS are going to have to reset and also try and not lose more members, which means they have to give up a bit of positioning, i.e. can... I mean, it's not like they lost a whole lot of positioning, but WGS are going to have to re-fight from what they had already taken.
I say payload position, but actually the payload has been pretty much as pushed as far as you can get it without forcing an engage, which is what's going to have to happen now for WGS. They're sitting up for the high ground, so Bunker will be on the backside, making the rotation happen. This could be a catch. Is the Frody down?
No, barely stays alive, but not. Will eventually go down. That was some critical seconds he bought. We'll have to see if the team can make anything of that. It's kind of looking like the answer is no. It's just a straight man advantage. The rest of the amplification matrix, though, has expired. You see Incendia just going to hang tight, give out a little bit of space, see if they can maybe get some members back. That's really critical, though, resetting the Zarya.
It's been the only major frag so far. I mean, that's going to be the energy reset entirely, and Frody has been, the past couple maps, pretty up there. Top Dragon getting a free B onto Hidden as well, so WGS now onto the 5.
Pulse Bomb nearly available for Vulture. We'll have to see what he can get done with that, because Top Dragon's own did not connect, unfortunately. DMAC on Bono, that's big. Now he's happy to just go in, toss down any kind of damage he can find. Look at that. This is classic from IE. Everyone's sitting pretty in the Transcendence as well, and Frody coming back in hot on that one for what it's worth. Not just the grab, but also rebuilding some of that lost charge.
Which you'll regain from dropping the grab in there, and you suddenly put the double bubbles down, and gonna get a fair amount of energy. But that's the sort of stage where, you know, I even mentioned last map that Frody's job is not really to be this big Zarya carry. He's not the main character here. For his team, he'll play a more supportive role on the Zarya, but just coming back alive, respawning, dropping grab, that's really all that needs to happen as far as the Zarya gameplay goes. The rest of the team will carry the damage through to collect the kills.
Now here we go, Dragon Strike across, just to slow things down, force WGS to not rotate directly to the cart. They just had to back up a bit, take a slightly longer rotation now instead, as their own Dragon Strike trying to dislodge some of these members up the top. Big Earls finds a Peach. That's really big. No rally now. Cat's going to try and rescue it first with the minefield deployed down. That finds Vulture. That's nuts. Looking to take out the Immortality Field as well. So now WGS, it's even Stevens, close to respawn on Vulture, mind you, but they are kind of having to give a little bit of space here. Shock in this isolated little space will end up going down. Bono can reset with a self-destruct, so he's not too bothered about that. And this should be where WGS can find their advantages. They need to finish off these members while their ultimates are still running.
Now both the rallies are coming on through, so despite the opening kills coming on in to get rid of Regida, doesn't seem to really be doing too much here. IE, with 4 members available, they're down 2 though, and the rally's gone now.
Yeah, there we go.
Peach is also gone. It just has to come down to frags. If IE can hold it, will have to just be big clutch plays on the DPSs, but no, they'll be stalling the payload, and that's all they can do. Yeah,
unlikely to happen. WGS managed to get themselves up to a man advantage, and I mean, 3 members died there, sure, but Shock actually still wasn't quite back in the fight anyway. By the time he was, it was really just the remaining 3, and obviously with it being the supports that were dying. I think IE were already on a back foot, having lost a Peach and Shock. They could have afforded to just let that one go and maybe go in quicker on B, but still, a good time lossage accrued there for IE on the defense.
Nearly a Grav Dragon. I don't know if they want to wait for the combo. Maybe they will have to now, because Top Dragon's already thrown away the Pulse Bomb. Still waiting 10% away for the grab as well. So, Brody now, time is limited. IE need to get a little bit more stoppage on this payload because it has been free pushing. Losing Frong is not ideal here. That really sucks, actually.
You're wrong, Frong. It's a classic, never gets old, and Bono finds Shock, so just big lossages there for IE. The trade on Hidden is not really enough. They're committing a grab in anyway. I don't know that I like this. There's not really a lot they can do with the Immortality Field there. They will find it wrong, but it's a bit late. They've already lost Inacast, so it still trades. And trades are currently favoring WGS just because they have a straight man advantage.
Still pushing 124 to go. A couple more ultimates coming online. I mean, Dragon with Supercharge will be pretty deadly eventually. Still haven't seen this Shock Dragon strike just yet, speaking of which. So, yeah, I think he's held on to this one from A. This has been going for quite some time. If IE want to make any engage happen, the Dragon Strike needs to come through.
Oh, that's nearly something onto Hidden, but the healing is there. They're just too quick on the mark. This damage across isn't enough. Nice. Ah, never mind. Yeah, all the ultimates, all the damage, nothing connecting until finally the Pulse Bomb will just finish off. Not just 1, but 2. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And now the Immortality Field dispatched off. This is going to be IE getting a full cleanup once again. They do lose Frog on this one, sure, but this is exactly the second stoppage that they were after now.
And there you go. I mean, Ueno might be on the bench now, but really the Tracer gameplay hasn't paused just yet. Top Dragon takes up the mantle and is going to be able to land the damage successfully. 30 seconds left to go. WGS's capability of finishing a time map is all but gone now, so don't expect that. Really, the expectation will just be, can they really even finish B at all? With limited time remaining, they have a lot of ultimates. We'll have nearly 6 ultimates, so they should cap B unless things go really awfully here. Dragon Strike buying them space to get in.
And now Vulture. Just kind of hanging around the side. A lot of ultimates at their disposal. First, it's going to be the Supercharger. Just pushing forward. They find a Frody. That's a really big pickup. A lot of charge he had and nearly a grab as well. So now it's going to be Transcendence from Frog. There's a lot of other ultimates committed here. Pulse Bomb thrown in the mix. The Rally, the Amplification Matrix, and no further kills just yet. They finally find a few, but it's a 2-for-2 trade, and with no Immortality Field, Top Dragon, he fancies a few. Oh, barely gets the recall in time. He did eat a brief stun, but he's able to finish off Balbam, and now as the overtime begins, Inocast comes back in hot with the minefields up, and it's going to have to try and match that Sands. Minefield is now the damage coming around onto a wrong. Self-destruct won't quite find its marks, but if Frody still dies a second time, WGS, they're barely keeping enough members around. Makata's Arpen does manage to finish off Frog. They may yet squeak this one over the line.
And that's all the ultimates gone as well. WGS have expended everything. Vulture nearly has another Pulse Bomb. There'll be 2 Pulse Bombs from Vulture this fight alone. Frodo's coming back in, but there's just not enough teammates. He doesn't have the energy. I don't think you want to drop a grab in here, i.e. the writing's on the wall. They will have to give this up, and WGS will get it across the line in the final hour.
Really, really close, and now, i.e. they're not going to waste any time. They do not want to let WGS get advanced positioning. They want to get themselves in position for a bit of an early fight here. Only 1 minute and 15 to burn down.
Really clutch plays, especially from Vulture staying alive that entire time. They get themselves past the minefield of Inocast there as well. If it wasn't for a Frody dying on about 98%, possibly IE could have held that one, but WGS just getting the necessary kills and cleanups. Now they have more ultimates coming online. It's going to be, most importantly, the Amp Matrix first. And Frody still waiting for a position to get this grab in. He's really far away, honestly, trying to take this upper right side high ground, as you can see.
Everyone's just hanging tight now. There we go, Frody down early. That's really, really big. The grab did at least get tossed out. The Dragon across it, but nope, Top Dragon goes wide on the pulse bomb. This is a bit of an unmitigated disaster for AE. They've just whiffed 3 hugely impactful ultimates in a row. Obviously, the Dragon on its own, not great, but the Grab Dragon combo. And now they're sitting on some swaps. Not a lot in the ultimate department right now.
I mean, I don't even know what got caught in the grab, honestly. I mean, the Dragon Strike comes in late anyway.
My hopes and dreams.
So, yeah, assume the grab didn't catch too much there. The Dragon's not going to get any kills anyway.
The rally running is barely saving Frody's bacon about now. The Transcendents can do the same. They've dealt with the Immortality Field. There we go. Kill onto a wrong. Shockers, some nice firing lines, trying to stay up on the high ground as well. Maybe get the damage in onto the backside of Bono. Nearly over the line, but here we go. Slide over commit from WGS off to the side with that free fire up top from Shock. Trade back onto a Peach, but the man advantage is there for IE. Vulture even fighting one onto Frong, so no support, so Frody's out of the mech. This is barely doable, and Vulture goes on a tear. Top Dragon's going to stay on top of him, though. Looking to get the D-mech on Bono. Nice save in from a wrong there. The Immortality Field, but it's still enough. Top Dragon does go wide on the Pulse Bomb, but the recall is there for him. They got the respawners coming in hot from IE as well. WGS, they're starting to muster. Yeah, then look at that. He hasn't lost the mech. He's still alive. And now the respawners, the supports especially hidden. One headshot is enough to swing something. At the very least, he forces attention to be paid to him on the back line. That's going to suck people away from the cards. This is unbelievable. Look at that, though. And last Frong comes back in with a nice Bionade. It's going to finish off Arpen. They're going to be able to deal with Bono's mech at long last. Hitting does find himself too, though. It's not all over just yet, but Shock, doesn't find Vulture. Down to the wire this is, but WGS, they have to stay on top of so much right now. i.e., Enocast, the Pulse Bomb, wasn't able to roll it quite back into Vulture. 1.76. It is breathtakingly close. Frody still barely alive with the mech. Has to back up, has to duck away. Healed up, trying to come back in. Frong dies again. They finally deal with Vulture. They also deal with Top Dragon. Hidden is still unanswered. i.e., they're barely holding on to this, and WGS are barely squeaking at forward millimeter by millimeter, and I don't know how much more they've got in the tank. Frody died. How can they keep getting these kills? This is unbelievable. IE just have not been able to stabilize in any way, shape, or form on the defense.
I mean, the Nano comes on through. This could be actually it now. A Hidden dies, a Wrong dies, Nova supports. WGS probably can no longer cap. Yep, the Pulse Bomb makes things even worse, and that Nano coming through from Frong is just enough for IE. Man, wipe some sweat off the brow here, because that got way too close.
That was some final boss Thanos nonsense right there. WGS made IE really sweat for it. It felt like they were on the back foot for so long, but in the same sense, WGS were barely mustering enough around the payload at several junctures as well. Bono absolutely out of his mind with how long he stayed alive there. And I mean, a lot of the credit for that obviously goes to the likes of Arong and Albam, but also, I mean, 0.81 was away from capping. It's a little bit unfortunate, but at the end of the day, that is as good as a cap, especially when it was only going to be in the overtime and you're not expecting much really out of a time bank. So IE, who go from nearly full holding on A and then B, nearly get fully capped out in the end.
But that's just a slow motion tug-of-war arm wrestle that we just watched there. Slowly, it looked like WGS were gaining the upper hand. Hidden comes onto a Widowmaker, which, by the way, the first thing that happens is, I believe he wins a 1v1 up against, I think it was Top Dragon that was on the Tracer versus him at that time. And then he comes back, okay, sure, Top Dragon eventually kills Hidden. Hidden comes back on the Widowmaker, respawns, gets like 3 kills or something like that. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know how, but all these kind of last-minute picks coming on through from WGS, compositionally in the heroes, but then also the damage coming on through. Vulture surviving the entire time. Like, my goodness, Vulture's been really doing a great job. But look at Top Dragon. He's been doing well on the Tracer, but Vulture's been playing on Tracer phenomenally the entire time as well. I mean, we still remember the double Pulse Bomb kill that happened on Mecha Base. That same clutch factor that Vulture's brought to the table is still relevant even now, despite WGS not capping.
Nothing on the entry frag there. Shock's actually sticking on this pick. Oh, there we go. There's the switch onto the Tracer. That's more expected. Now WGS, they're pretty happy with this particular lineup of the defense, so we'll have to see what IE could do for time. They actually have to basically fully cap out here.
Yeah, so time is going to be very important, which means they can't afford too many slowdowns. And when you consider that, by the way, WGS had so many slowdowns on multiple points here, and they still managed to almost cap out. Pretty impressive.
Yep.
Shot going down is actually somewhat inconsequential. Top Dragon going down would be definitely worse, but what they need is the nano boost. So as long as they can charge the nano boost, they're okay.
Has to be a sitting duck for a hot minute to find the immortality field, and that is the window in which Top Dragon will get his head blown clean off. One thing I will note, though, by the way, the payoff there for IE for that desperate defense on C is all they have to do is cap out, and they just outright win it. I know that's a very forehead take, but it means that they don't have to worry about a time bank or, you know, playing too hard against the clock. They just need to get to the end.
Still easier said than done for a map like Route 66, but see how this goes now as the nano comes on through. Yeah, they do lose one, but overall they've got 2 kills.
Yeah, and Bono now looking low as well. Vulture does trade a good one back, but he takes himself out with same said Pulse Bomb. WGS are going to lose the members. They at least stall the cart for as long as they can in that losing engagement, but i.e. they found the entry they needed. And again, it's just super efficient. There was only the nano boost committed for their money.
Well played by Peach there. I mean, gets a nano in, drops onto Cass. Really close quarters battle happening there as well. And despite getting stuck by Vulture's Pulse Bomb, ends a sleep on towards Vulture, so he trades the 1-for-1 minimum there, and that's even the Pulse Bomb gone, so pretty high value in terms of that ult trade. WGS now have one opportunity to maybe still stand on the payload. They can definitely get feed on there. Supercharge is about to be online. They can always engage with self-destruct. At minimum, they probably force the blade.
Pulse Bomb just kind of tossed out by Shot, gets stunned, so it doesn't quite find his mark. Here comes the blade. Immortality Field immediately slashed down, follows up on a wrong, turns his attention to Hidden. That's a great twofer. He does lose his own life, but the damage has long since been done. The Supercharger is gone now. Afrodi has a grab. I think he wants to be a bit conservative with it if he can help it. No, maybe too conservative. They lost a Peach. If they just committed that, I think they would have won outright.
I think at that stage, when Top Dragon's already committed the blade, you're all in, i.e. you're so close to capping. The worst place to not cap and to kind of get held back and reset is directly before the payload finishes the cap on either of the points here. So yeah, I'm on the same page. I think if Frody just drops in the Graviton Surge as soon as he gets it, and I go for the play, they may win that. They might just be able to finish the cap because they already threw so many ultimates into it anyway.
Bit rough, bit of a tough break, but WGS really starting to flex it on the defense now, i.e. time is not on their side. And obviously the other side of this naturally is the reset on Afrodi, is a reset of charge. Let's see if they can get back underway.
Still waiting for the grab to come on through. That has to be the most important tool. Now to boost onto Cast now, great Omni pick.
This is, okay, this is a potential opener. Obviously, having found the immortality field as well. They're just waiting out, yeah, they're waiting out the amplification matrix. It wasn't the most amazing, but there's the grab finally committed. The damage looking to come in. Pulse Bomb goes wide, unfortunately, out from Shock, but Vultures also goes wide as well. Finally, the kill onto Arpen with the anti-heal to help out on that. Albab dead. Bono will be able to self-destruct to reset the spec, but it may be a bit foolish to do it with this many members dead, and yeah, he knows the exact is true. It's a good stoppage, though, for WGS. It's going to be just shy of an overtime cap here on A. Ooh, nice play kill.
Nearly a kill to Hidden there as well. That would have been great for IE snowball momentum, but to be honest with you, Inocast will get the fast respawn anyway in terms of the forward hold, so he'll be okay. And, well, the forward spawn, I should say more accurately. So, all's well ends well for IE, who, so at the end of the day, have to throw an extra primal raid, which is not ideal, but you just have to get the cap at that stage. Well played to be able to secure it. Nano Blade will be next on the menu, I'm sure, as WGS reset for this B defense.
Please don't say menu, it's just reminding me that I haven't eaten for several hours. At any rate, WGS now. The ultimate's there in the pocket. Oh, Hidden's already down, though. Look at that. Top Dragon's on a tear. Straight in, looking to get on top of Vulture. Won't quite fight it. Vulture gives him the slip, but Arpen's not so lucky. He just sees that as one giant oyster. Maybe even a pearl inside as Vulture has to slink away to the side.
Yeah, imagine sipping away at an oyster and you just find a jewel inside.
You don't sip oysters, though.
Imagine just sucking up an oyster and there's a jewel inside. There you go.
Have you eaten an oyster?
And I don't plan to either. So, IE now, 125 remaining. As I'm not into that kind of stuff. There's nothing there about it that makes me say, man, I really want to try that. No,
you just sort of gulp it down. Oh, that Pulse Bomb goes completely off into nowhere.
You just lop that into the... You just gulp that down.
Toss it down and just... Yep. Yeah, anyway, I love oysters. But I'm terrified of them. At any rate, IE now Look at that aggression from InnoCast separating out the supports. That forces an immortality field, not exactly where they would have liked it. The Peach goes down, though. That's really unfortunate. A lot of that hard work from InnoCast now coming to nothing. They're all in. They're committing a grab. They've lost 2 members. They haven't killed anyone. They're only just dealt with the immortality field now. And they're so split up that I seriously question that. From a Frody.
I think if a Frody had more energy, it'd be worth it. And I think, you know, we look back now at the Blizzard World situation where, you know, there on Blizzard World, we were kind of golf clapping like, wow, good job on the grab there. And like you know, it was a grab and a sort of clutch moment where you were down members versus WGS having more players. And at that moment, you're like, that was a good time to use a grab. What's different about then and here is on Blizzard World, you were up against a WGS attack, which was on OT, and the risk was worth the reward. So, or the, you know, whichever way you want to say it, basically it was a worthwhile play. Here, it seemed a little bit more risky. In fact, IE are the ones under pressure. They are now in for a potential OT push.
So now, we'll have to see what they can accomplish in said push, because this is where it's going to have to happen. Got to keep the pressure on the cart, and here we go. InnoCast getting aggressive. Immortality field just bumping a wrong way away. Oh, Top Dragon's down. They do at least trade that one out, and now the Nano Boost to be committed to InnoCast. He's still finding it wrong. Does at least get it. A Frody down, but the trade isn't on up, and InnoCast is now 4 kills off in this fight. Bonner looking to get demexed. Vulture slinking away. Frog's going to get the follow-up. There we go. So the overtime cap. This is going to be very tight, but it's still within IE sights.
I mean, it's the same time that WGS had, so, I mean, WGS managed to get it done. They were very good in that final fight of the OT there as well, IE even showing the capability of winning in this overtime, despite being technically behind as well, be looking towards the Dragon Blade again. And Top Dragons had some phenomenal blades today. A couple that didn't really get too much done, but for the most part, they have the great WGS on the back line, though. They've counter-rotated, they're on the payload, they're stopping the progression.
This is really important for them as well. IE just have to come back and deal with this. They will find Alban. This could be a big shift in momentum, actually, if this is big and successful, and so far it has been. Because look, now the respawns come in. That's a super clean wipe. All 6 members dead. Listen to the gong. And now they're going to be able to get forward positioning as these respawners come out.
And we're waiting for the grab now. Okay, sure, Frody is on about 30 energy. He's a little bit more in the pocket of ideally, but we're waiting towards the possibility of a combo here. Can Shock get a pulse bomb in time? That would be really, really good here. Even then, you do have to get past the immortality field. And here's a good opportunity to build some energy, now up to 45.
Okay, here we go. Alban with the rally running. There's the grab. Oh no, that's a disaster grab. It only finds Hidden, but he trades that with a Peach already. They don't have time to afford this. I think that's going to be it. It's going to sell IE short, unfortunately. Yeah, less than 10 seconds on the clock. Nobody really alive to stagger this one out. That was a disaster grab. And I mean, Frody has kind of gone from 0 to 0 in the course of this map, I dare say. But look, sometimes when the pressure mounts, at any rate, that is going to be WGS keeping it on lockdown, now finally pushing us to match point.
And now you start to look at the WGS push on to see and realize how miraculous it really was. The fact that, you know, when you have only 130, you cannot afford mistakes. And despite Incendia Evolution getting an initial good fight on C, when you see this big wraparound from WGS and they drop on the payload and you think, okay, well, they're stopping the payload, it's costing time, but they get fully wiped out. We heard the gong coming on through, all impressive. They lost still time. They lost ultimates. They lost the ability to snowball through. So they had to use a blade to get past that initial defense. And the point of that defense from WGS was, I mean, you're going to bait out ultimates. You are going to force time away. And when you've only got 130, they've basically nailed down 2 fights. One fight where they give away their lives, but they stole the payload and bait out ultimates. And a second fight where they will have the ultimate advantage. Well, they will have the defender spawn advantage. And then, unfortunately, the grab doesn't get maximum value. It didn't have a pulse bomb connected to it anyway. The pulse bomb only came through towards the end when Shock eventually finds it. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of over that stage. And you still have to, again, get past the immortality field for the grab pulse to even be a thing.
I mean, you even see way back on A as well. Like, we've complimented so much Incendia getting these really cheap fight wins. They commit like 1, maybe 2 ultimates and get this super efficient, you know, 6 for nothing kind of trade, even sometimes drawing out some ultimates. But it's a double-edged sword, right? And the other edge kind of came back to swing at them in that A push we pointed out, where Top Dragon commits the blade, he gets 2, he trades his own life for it, but you go, okay, immortality field is down, he's got a support, he's got a DPS. Actually, I think it was both supports. It was a really great position to be in, all things considered. And you see a Frody with the scrab, he's trying to play close to the chest, he doesn't want to commit it if he doesn't have to, and ends up not committing it when he did have to. They end up losing that fight, so now you've got negative value out of what was a positive trade on your Dragon Blade. And that same sort of approach came back to bite them, not just there, but a couple of times as well, even on the defense, I felt, where they were not willing to invest things and therefore ended up mucking up timings because they sort of went, no, we shouldn't, it's too late now. And then sometimes, way after it was too late, they'd then choose to use it anyway, having realized the mistake. And they can't keep ending up in those situations. It's really selling them short because they're playing a lot better than that would make it seem.
And it seems like their highs have been very high, but
yeah,
you know, the time just gets away from them. And I think if there was more time remaining, or you know, if you just kind of, unfortunately, you look at the timer and you forget about how much time has actually been spent by Incendia Evolution here, to the point where it just gets into the OT, like you 2 shakes of a head and suddenly went to the OT. So despite some good fights in there, WGS held strongly. They came back, most importantly, on that A, right towards the last distance of the payload. The payload nearly touches down for an A cap, and then WGS come in for one final reset, and they actually get a fight, and they actually get a win, and they force Incendia Evolution back. And those are the kind of fights where Incendia would have loved to be able to move on through, have an ultimate advantage, snowball onto B, towards B, or the next point going from B to C. But they're constantly having to spend extra just to get past the initial hurdles that WGS lay down, and they have to spend so many resources just to, get over small obstacles, that when it comes down to these big fights, they're never as well equipped and massively favored as you'd think they would be.
And I've got to also credit WGS there quite fairly, because after Blizzard World, I sort of went, well, look, I'm half expecting Route 66 to be just as one-sided, because Blizzard World enormously favored Incendia Evolution, right? And WGS, look, as much as they really had to struggle for it towards the end on C, and even getting some caps towards the overtime, they still actually win it. They end up edging it out. So not only did they close that gap that was present on Blizzard World, they then actually come out ahead. And then, again, now we recontextualize and we revisit Busan, where it was kind of close. You could argue it could have gone the way, maybe even should have gone the way of Incendia Revolution with that final fight on Mecha Base, but now you look at it as a situation where it could have been Incendia on match point and WGS just sort of keeping themselves in with a chance, slowly starting to turn it around. Maybe instead you get Incendia, who have run pretty close to the mark on the 2 that they've lost and absolutely blown out the 1 that they've won. But if they lose another one, that's it. It doesn't matter how good their wins were. And let's remind ourselves what's at stake here. This is the battle for 5th place. The loser here is almost certain to get relegated and not have a chance at playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to then go into future weeks where the loser of this match overperforms. Overperforming would be either WGS beating CC or Incendia Evolution beating Talon. And I don't think either of those are winnable. I don't think those are going to be, for either team, really doable. So you're not wrong. It's going to come down to just this series. Your entire season could literally rest upon these next couple of maps, or maybe just one more map.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's going to be an unfortunate situation, I got to say, on both ends of the fence, but I will say quite rightly, at this point, if Incendia end up losing here, it's going to be a real heartbreaker. Here we go. Uena's going to come back in over Shock, just by the way, but it would be a particular heartbreaker because we talk about how difficult it can be for these new coming Trials teams to break into Contenders and stay in Contenders. And this is the one match. This is the one match they would need to win to genuinely make that happen. There could be more of a future still for some of these players if they can stay in, if they can improve and build season on season, year on year. And that opportunity could get snatched away from them right now.
That storyline is exactly what WGS has lived through. I mean, before they became Contenders champions, they were like a literal bottom place, 0 wins Contenders team. In 2019, it wasn't until Contenders 2020 that WGS started to become a really good team, and they eventually in Season 2 found that championship after in Season 1 having a really great season. And now pretty much their entire 2020 roster got put into Overwatch League, so WGS has lived and breathed that storyline of being kind of like this underdog team, fresh team, coming from Trials, completely winless into being a championship team. But WGS is still here currently, and this is the kind of caliber that IE, as a newcomer, has to get past. You're gonna have to dethrone somebody if you want to live.
Exactly. If you cannot beat the rebuilding WGS, then there's no two ways about it, right? Your future does not exist in this particular iteration of Contenders Korea, as unfortunate as that is to say. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Still a fair amount left in it for both of these teams, in fact, as first kill does come across. Top Dragon, I expect, will be resable.
So much of this battle, by the way, over the course of the last 4 maps, including, you know, the start of this here so far, is Top Dragon versus Vulture, and the fact that they're playing the same hero again. I mean, that storyline just continues through. It's hidden on the Torb. That's kind of maybe the hidden character here. I would have assumed that maybe the Hanzo would still just be better overall, especially in this kind of assisting the Pharah kind of a situation where Yuena can at least drop in some extra arrows. Both the nanos have been used on the respective Pharahs as well.
Okay, Frong's down. That's really big, and yeah, there we go. There, they find Yuena as well. I.e., I mean, this is a really slow way to approach this. They've lost about 2 minutes here. Nothing gained at all so far.
I mean, just great plays from WGS. They match the nanos. Usually what happens is it's going to be a nano play. There's no Winston here because you're putting resources into your Pharah. I mean, there's just no way you're going to play Winston in this comp as well when you have 2 heroes that demand so many resources. So nano's going to automatically go into Top Dragon. But because WGS do the same thing, it's like, oh, you just can't get an advantage there. And then on top of that, Frong dies to a turret. Like, what?
Yeah. Super brutal, but certainly not out of it, as now Yuena going ahead, committing the Dragon Strike. That's going to force the tanks away at least a little bit. Oh, big fight onto Albam, who drifts out into it. Wasn't able to get out of that one. Super brutal. Now Top Dragon just needs to stay alive. Enocast barely living. Look at that. Z-Mech is there on a Frody, but Top Dragon does go down. Vulture is still in this one, getting all the support from a Wrong, even as Albam is dead. Because of where he is, Frog's not been able to go for a res until just now, as Yuena finally finds Vulture. Coming back into this now, a bit of a second wind for IE, who do also have that closer respawn. A Wrong goes down. So there we go. The solid start will be made good upon by the looks of it here. They just need to finish off these last few members and complete the point cap.
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is with the fact that Albam died so quickly. Vulture still gets value on the Pharah with no Mercy pocket. I mean, Barrage was even played into there, just had the one heal on the Ana. I was almost ready to compliment Hidden, like, okay, maybe the Torb has got value here. Maybe the Torb is actually okay, because Hidden was hitting some reasonable shots. It's not quite as good as a Hanzo or as consistent as a Hanzo, but he made it work. Sadly, the Molten Core on A is just not going to find value. Even on B, I'd say the Molten Core versus IE's comp is going to be pretty low value. I mean, who's even going to walk into the Molten Core? Really? It's just Enocast.
Okay, a Wrong's down now. Here we go. Rocket Barrage doesn't get a whole lot done. Bono mostly just takes it up as, yeah, traded. It's a big trade, though. Hidden go down. Arpen as well. Hold on. Certainly not over yet, even with all that peppermint on the ground. Don't know what else to really call it. Frong going down, though, is I think the real loss there is they were able to get a Wrong back in with the res, i.e. looking to run out of momentum. Look, you're unlikely to get much on that Pharah push anyway, but walking away with not even a third is a little bit tough.
I'm actually kind of glad that Hidden's off the Torb now. I think you just use the ultimate, see what you can find, lay up the bridge, make sure no one can walk across it. And WGS will change over now as we have a Tracer McCree duo with Arpen's Orisa on the defense. So WGS now leaning back into the Orisa gameplay that they've been kind of known for. And similarly on the other side, IE is going to lean back over towards the Winston Nano boost into Top Dragon Blade gameplay that they've been finding success on all the way back as far as, you know, Blizzard World.
But Aimbroke don't fix it. Oh, huge pick. Now self-destruct laid forward as well. That is a massive Bionade, though. A Wrong coming up big as all 3 of the native members go down, and that's so important because Top Dragon and Enocast are an absolute tear up front. They'll at least get a tick. Oh, maybe just not. Bono quick sticks with the stall there. That's really important because they probably can't hold on in this anyway. They have the closer respawn here, WGS, so IE were unlikely to get anything else done, but also stopping that third was super important on the defense.
Yeah, that's wild. Now you've got a situation where Vulture finds the second 2K pulse bomb of the series so far. To be fair, IE, they were down on members. They were down to the only 3 remaining. Even getting 1 tick was going to be, you know, a pretty massive reward for where they were. They're not even going to get that. So like you said, Bono just coming at the last stage. And I mean, you did also say for this Genji composition, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, I mean, this didn't really get them a win on Route 66. It wasn't quite good enough there. Nano now into Enocast, hoping for a Primal.
Here we go now. It's taking way too much damage, and Top Dragon as well, under heat. They have to reset, have to wait for that one. Reasonably efficient from a Wrong there, actually. is now the Primal going forward. They'll have to get something done with this because at this point, Vulture down. Okay, that's the first casualty. Arped as well to the Pulse Bomb. Hidden immediately trades it back. It just keeps happening. They finally start making some headway. Big ultimates come back in response. Inocast is going to go down. They're at least going to walk away with the first tick, maybe even second tick at this point. That's important, but IE at this point, they're not going to get anything more. The reason this is good is at the very least, they don't walk away with nothing. Hold on, not done yet. Frody's still in it. No, there we go. Hidden's on his marks. Yeah, really important there.
So despite Vulture dying, I mean, Hidden still gets 2-piece on the Deadeye there. You see IE, trying to attempt to push back in, albeit Nano Blade for the final play here as we're down to the last minute of gameplay, heading into OT for sure. I think IE can be pretty happy walking away with 87%. It does mean we guarantee a no draw, but IE are going to be pretty upset about not being able to finish this cap. They have a lot of ultimates, so I'm not going to lie, these are good ultimates coming on in. It's just the fact that WGS, similarly on the back end, have some good defensive ultimates. Nano onto RPN especially, it's going to be pretty rough. And the Vultures have found so many good sticks so far that I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
Yeah, hold up now. Top Dragons just opened this one way, way up. Look where the fight's happening. WGS aren't at it. IE are at it. WGS was so obsessed with the forward push that Top Dragon with Uena more or less just go in and two-man it.
Yeah, they kill Albam and the wrongs there as well. And despite the Nano onto Arpin and Bono were not there. And I want to say, if Arpin and Bono were maybe on the cap there, I could see a world where they stall for a little bit, especially Bono with the mech to the Baby Diva. WGS start respawning, they play the defender's advantage there, and eventually outmuscle IE. And do they have to give up enough percentage points that maybe IE get 95, get really close to the full 100%? Probably. But WGS would give themselves a fair shot at defending B. That is pretty wild. A Top Dragon just comes on through it and does that. And yeah, okay, he's got a Dragon Blade. We've seen some really good Dragon Blades, but even that was a lot for me. I did not expect that to be as successful as it was.
It was pretty nuts, I gotta say. But I mean, look, you can't say they didn't earn it because at the end of the day, one big part of that is the fact that WGS were not at where the fight was. They thought they were dictating the pace of it. IE saw a different way. And they completely capitalized. They completely earned that. You know, they created something out of nothing.
They traded back lines there, and as that happens, if you're not able to, I mean, Vulture dying is definitely one of the cruxes of that fight. And it seems like a lot of this so far has come down to the difference between, okay, well, who's going to carry harder? Who's going to have more of a clutch moment? Is it going to be Vulture? Is it going to be Top Dragon? Sometimes it's Vulture. Sometimes it's Top Dragon. Here, for IE, it was definitely Top Dragon, and obviously there's a grab coming on in there as well. So, you know, despite us saying, yeah, well, Arpin and Bono weren't there, they both got grabbed on the front line, so they weren't going to be able to make it back either. So well done through Frody.
Now we'll have to see how IE fare on the defense. They've opened the door for themselves to even up the series. Take it to a game 5. At the very least, there's a potential for a draw on the table as well, which would be a non-result, but at least not a loss for IE. That's really what they're still playing for here. A lot of spam damage from Top Dragon on these rotations.
That's what we're waiting for, because WGS have kind of given up on trying to play a mirror matchup in terms of the fires, at least not on the offense. There's already barrage available, by the way.
Okay, Top Dragon goes straight in for it, kind of rains it down from the sides, more so than above, but it's at least a passing success. Bono D-Mex, Inocast gets topped off and Albam's dead. They're going to go ahead and commit in with a Coalescence. I don't know how I feel about this. It'll take out Frong.
It's a big kill, actually.
It's good, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, Bono's going to die late, Arpen's going to die late, Albam's only just reset, so Frong can just come back and piggybacking off Top Dragon here.
Well, WGS can just go now as well. I think as soon as they get their players, they need to start setting up things. There's a minor window. Yeah, the window is closing faster as Frong is coming back in with Top Dragon. So as WGS want to make a play, IE will have all 6 available. I can see what WGS are doing, and I can see why they would want to go for Coalescence there, but it does end up costing them 1 ultimate for a kill that they can't capitalize on.
Yeah, if the reset on their part had have just been able to be a bit quicker, then I think that could have worked out for them. Top Dragon's immediately going to have another rocket barrage as well.
It's just not on a dive, though.
Huge.
I mean, they're playing an Orisa attack, was always going to be slow, sadly.
Okay, straight onto the back line, onto a Peach. Here we go. You see a Frody coming in back to help him. There's the 2, 3, 4 now with the rocket barrage. I'm counting the mech among that for sure. Bono's dead to Inocast. So again, they lose Frong. This actually might be a better timing window for them, honestly, because Frong is going to have a a slightly slower time coming back, and WGS reset more quickly.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those ignore the fire challenges from WGS. And at one point you're thinking, all right, well, they're not going to match the fire, so the game plan is going to be to make a play to play for the objective, maybe just bypass Top Dragon or whatever. It's just not going to happen. Every single time I see a team try and attempt to ignore the fire, generally speaking, the fire is good enough to punish them. And certainly Top Dragon, with 2 barrages so far, the punish has been there. You could say that Vulture is the EMP, but so does Uena.
This actually might be their biggest timing window, because Top Dragon doesn't have the rocket barrage yet, but even then, the sheer pressure he puts down in these rotations, now that's a huge EMP. Sure, it only catches the 2, but it's prime members. Enocast does lose the supercharge, though. Here we go, Uena down. That's a big find. Where is it going to be? Okay, EMP comes out on the other side now, only finding Enocast. Self-destruct laid in on the point. It's just the 1 for nothing. But Incendia haven't lost much more just yet. They're keeping Top Dragon in it. He's still got a rocket barrage. About a 3rd accumulated. Here's the Coalescence. Great manual hack onto Top Dragon. That keeps his wings clipped for a few moments longer. They shouldn't be able to get the full cap on this just yet, but Hidden's got a Death Blossom. It's going to be tough for IE to actually dislodge them here. Look at the attention being paid to Top Dragon. There it is. As soon as he goes for it, he's just too immobile and goes straight down. WGS absolutely executing on the game plan this time around.
And that was even without the help of, Bono coming with a defense matrix specifically. Top Dragon was looking at where the Diva of Bono was, saw that Bono was on the side there, wasn't going to be able to stop the barrage, so he felt like he had a good opportunity. IE have to back out now, play for B. It's a lot of time loss, if nothing else. I mean, that's good in that regard, but WGS is snowballing currently. They have Supercharger down, doing a ton of damage. Top Dragon receives a nano.
Ooh, that self-destruct laid in was super threatening. Frong does go down. Here we go. Traded for the Supercharger. Top Dragon trying to come back in. He's lost the nano boost at this point. Kill onto Vulture. That's the only thing keeping them in at this. It's a huge rally. This snowball push is off the chain right now. IE at this point, they're relying on Uena to come in big with an EMP. They're looking for the rest of these members to try and stall out. They need a Frody to come in. Uena doesn't want to have to do it himself. Where's the EMP? Big bio nade. That's decent. Here's the follow-up. A big slam down. But can they get the kills? Arong's nearly going to have a Coalescence. They find Hidden and Frody's DMAC. Top Dragon called off to the side. Dead to the Coalescence now. Frody dead a second time as well. And Fong with the full reset of IE. WGS win the 2nd in a row. 2 minutes now. 3:11 after the time adjustment. That is immense. WGS put in the work, and IE are watching it slip away from them.
I mean, it was a huge struggle for WGS on A, but the B attack coming over when, they barely finished capping A, and most of their members are already making their way over towards B. You see that IE were not at all prepared. Top Dragon, despite receiving a nano, spends most of his nano on the Doomfist trying to take down the Supercharger. It was an instant Supercharger on the bridge. WGS just walk forward, take the control of the payload, or the point itself. There's no payload on this map, but they take the point. Orissa's on there. 50% damage boost across the board for all team members. And Top Dragon, because he's spending so long on trying to kill the Supercharger, he's not part of the fight. Great that Enocast got a trade or 2 while that was happening, but WGS were not to be stopped. Another Coalescence. I mean, that Coalescence is so hard to break against. That Coalescence is so hard to play into that when the final Coalescence comes in and starts collecting kills, that's it. If Frody dies, Frody was at not 99, 100 energy. If Frody needed a lot of pocketing there for alternative damage, and maybe IE get it across the board, but they just never got to set up a defense, and WGS snowballed beautifully.
So, IE, time being not on their side, and they're going for the same Farah v Farah here. This took them quite a long time the first time around.
You know what?
More successful. Oh, Cast
if it
really
wasn't
feels
for the 14 seconds they had, I mean, this one, they'd only be playing for a draw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it would be an A-hold draw as well. Uena's already down. That's a little unfortunate.
Waiting to see what nano boost we can get here. Obviously, it's nano versus nano, but it's going to be nano onto Farah's. Although I say that Enocast is on the Winston. You'll notice that I mentioned previously when IE were attacking regulation time that they weren't playing the Winston. It was actually a ball for Enocast. Here they're looking for alternative options for the nano. I just don't know if that's going to be good enough though, because it does primarily go towards the fire. If you put it onto Enocast, it's going to be putting Top Dragon in a more precarious situation, and it's going to take them this full minute just to get a nano.
Problem is, it's taken about a similar amount of time, and Vulture's nearly got a rocket barrage. They put it onto Enocast. They need to try and convert quickly. Top Dragon's dead. This is already a disaster. They found Outbound. That's big, but nope, Frong does not live. They needed him to live. A Frody down to the barrage. A Peach wipe. That's going to be it. IE the comp was always going to be a slow comp. It was always going to be a one-shot, one-opportunity situation. It's not enough. WGS now 3-11. It's more than enough time, believe you me.
Kind of wild how many players are dying to turrets, by the way. So you saw on A, the initial A attack coming through from IE in regulation time. Frong, who was on a Mercy, dies to Hidden's turret. This time Top Dragon on the fire dies to Hidden's turret. So kind of whack how that is. And we had this minor conversation about IE potentially playing for a draw and that 14 seconds kind of buying them the space not to. Well, reset all of that. Pretend we didn't even get 14 seconds. Pretend that first attack on the time bank didn't happen. And that's IE capped in the overtime. They had 0 time, and all they have now is the opportunity to draw.
Weirdly enough, actually, all that 14 seconds has brought them inevitably, is it's made it harder for them, because they still didn't cap in A, and all it's meant is that there's 46 more seconds that they're going to have to defend for on A, which is enough time to have an entire extra push.
So WGS now are looking pretty set for this, and to be fair, they struggled a little bit on A. So that's kind of the only silver lining IE have to work with, is if they can get these fast barrages, it'll be pretty smooth sailing. I do expect WGS to learn from that. You see Vulture starting out on the Widowmaker. I would like to see Vulture stay on this, actually.
Likewise, yeah. All they need is to kill, ideally, Frong, but even just Top Dragon in an inconvenient location will pull Frong away and create a window of opportunity for their rotation.
InnoCast, by the way, is even on an Orisa here, so it is going to be Orisa versus Orisa. It's a really strange kind of combo that IE have, because they're going to be playing Orisa and the Fire. Now, that's not entirely unheard of, but it does mean, you know, okay, like, it's very immobile. It's going to cost IE a lot of mobility. And really, again, it comes down to Top Dragon doing the initial damage. He's already on 48, which is great.
Yeah, huge spam damage. Vulture not even actually in that rotation. He's waiting for Top Dragon to get low enough that he can manual hack him. Top Dragon not falling for the bait. Never quite went close enough to ground.
Manual hack?
This is where he got the first one the last time around. Manual hack is on the Frog.
And
that's huge. That's really big. A Peach as well. I think it's over. I think that's happened. Unless Top Dragon goes absolutely bonkers, but no, he's just one Pharah. His wings have been sliced clean off. That's the full ring out of the gong. 6 for nothing. And that gong sounds Incendia's doom, as I think they are now extremely unlikely to make it out of the 5th place finish.
Omen, that signals the end there for Incendia Evolution, as they only get the one map versus WGS. And even when you kind of rewind the clock and you say, yeah, maybe they could have had Busan, it would mean we go to a map 5. And sure, anything can happen on the map 5. But we haven't had a 3-2 result yet. We won't today. Not at least in this matchup, and unlikely be in the next matchup either. That was still a really good game. It was a close one. We had a lot of back and forth action, but at the end of the day, when you see WGS, especially on these last 2 maps, it goes all their way. And sure, we only got the time back because WGS couldn't quite make the hold happen. There's a world where that last 14 seconds doesn't happen at all, and WGS simply hold B like it looked like they were meant to be doing anyway. And we have a sort of different set of circumstances, but Route 66 was, I think, the biggest proof of how good WGS can be when under pressure. Their ability to get through C and have this kind of final OT last stand on the attack to break through and get so much extra distance, so many extra frags, when they were down to as low as maybe 2 members, 3 at most, like half the team was dead, and they were disadvantaged in terms of spawns, and yet somehow they pushed through 66, and then on their own defense on C, they stop and send the Evolution in their tracks, and then we just look at Temple of Anubis, and it's like, it's fairly one-sided.
Yeah, I've got to say, like the credit is really there for WGS to really start to come alive, and now you look at Blizzard World as actually being the outlier, where Incendia, I mean, they performed to an extreme. They were hyper efficient, and WGS, it seemed like there was just not a whole lot they could do about it. But as soon as they kind of broke that one, like the dominoes all fell. It was a very fragile kind of success, as it turned out, for Incendia. And I'm really curious as to who your man of the match is going to be, because honestly, not that I was expecting Incendia were necessarily going to win, but looking across them, you know, I had a couple of, you know, my own thoughts of who could actually potentially earn it based off how they were playing, based off who the really big performers were. But for WGS, it felt more like a very broadly spread effort. So I'm actually quite curious to see what you would have picked.
I mean, everyone did a great... this is the kind of spiel that you have to give before the thing, don't you? It's like, oh, everyone did really well, but at the end of the day, only one person get it.
Everyone's a winner.
Everyone's a winner, except not actually, and only one person really is the winner of this.
But also the whole team still won. So
everyone did win, technically speaking. But the player of the match is going to go towards minor drum roll in my head. It's going to be Vulture, and specifically why Vulture. And it's not just that I'm DPS biased, but it's also the fact that while I say that, by the way, both flex tanks yesterday got it. So I'm only joking. Vulture had, I think, some of the more key clutch moments that we saw over the series, and it starts with that mecha-based 2K on the pulse bomb that really changed everything. Okay, sure.
And it was...
there a couple of other things went wrong there. We could talk about the nano being misplaced, but even with the nano being let's say the nano did go into Frody, Vulture still getting that 2K really swings things heavily over to WGS's favor, and that was, I think, the moment where I started to pay attention. I'm like, damn, okay, this is that first moment for Vulture. Except it wasn't just a one and done. You look at the rest of the series, still many a great moment across everything else. Route 66 was great as well. Plenty of great plays on Blizzard World, and another 2K stick on, I think, Route 66. And then, just being one of the two DPSs, that played through on Temple of Anubis for great success. And I'll say that Hidden really started to show up for me as well on the last two maps, especially that great play in the Widowmaker in the clutch. I think a Hidden's Widowmaker did a lot of damage on that Route 66 to get WGS the eventual early cap.
Sure.
But for more consistency-based gameplay across all the maps, I think Vulture just impressed the most.
And it's really fascinating because, honestly, I even mentioned it early on. It felt like Ueno was just way more onto it in the Tracer play, just in general, than Vulture was, at least to begin with Vulture kind of having, like you pointed out, that big spike, that big peak on mecha base, and it just ended up being like a single big enough one to completely turn the result of that map on its head for what was going to be an Incendia win to what ended up being a WGS win. And like you said, he continued to deliver those sorts of moments as well. But it's interesting because I still feel like, on balance, if you were to take the averages, it feels like Ueno was having just a solid performance, just not necessarily with those same huge peaks that Vulture was. However, there's something to be said for pick consistency, because at that point you turn your attention to Temple of Anubis, where in the Pharah v Pharah, I mean, it was a non-question. Top Dragon was barely able to accomplish anything in the direct head-to-head. It was when he was on his own on the Pharah he looked excellent. Vulture was just straight up an unstoppable force. Obviously, there was a lot for Top Dragon to contend with. It's not fair to really look at it as this straight 1v1 as it sometimes feels with those Pharah dogfights. But yeah, no, I completely agree with that assessment. In the end, Vulture, kind of from zero to hero over the course of that entire series, and WGS a well-deserved one. But I tell you what, Kevin AVRL Walker, that's only just one. There's only one done of the night so far, and there's another one to go. And I mean, if that one was a nail-biter with big stakes, I feel like, this is the chaser, right? This one's going to be the glass of water after the bitter pill. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of a breather. When we come back, we'll have O2 Blast versus Starlight. Don't go anywhere. Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news at 7. This is actually Overwatch Contenders. If you thought this was the news for a second, then you are ridiculously gullible. We're already halfway through the night and I've already lost my marbles. And the next match I think isn't going to help it at all. We've got O2 Blast coming up against Starlight. It's always going to be a tough ask for Starlight. O2 Blast are just an absolute juggernaut right now. I kind of expect Starlight to just be more or less flattened under their tires.
See what kind of fight they can put up, and we Starlight have had a new addition towards the team, much like Incendia Evolution did have as well. And Starlight are kind of, you know, the bounce back team from last season where, okay, not the greatest season for them was their opening season coming through from Trials. Always going to be pretty tough for Trials teams. And ultimately, Starlight ended up 5th place in their group with, I don't think they won a single map last season, actually, which is a bit of a heartbreaker. And so far, I mean, they've only played the one game, coming up to their 2nd match now overall. And Starlight would be really looking for a better result than last season for sure. I mean, that would be putting it lightly. And they're in a group currently. I mean, looking at who else is in their group, obviously OT's in there, but they have JNGK, they have BM as well as 2 potentially beatable teams. BM has looked weak against T1 O2 Blast, but I kind of expect all the teams to look weak versus them unless your name is, you know, CC or Talon on the other end. So Starlight is basically what I'm trying to say is they're not the Trials team coming back, and that's JNGK. So Starlight should have, at minimum, a shot at making at least 4th place in this group. However, you know, if they're looking for their first map win in Contenders' career, period, not just this season, but also including last season, yeah, it's going to be rough in this game. I don't know if it's going to happen here. It's probably not going to be found here today versus O2 Blast, but maybe in a future game.
Maybe. That's a big maybe as well, to be completely honest. I mean, there's some achievable targets in this. It feels like more and more Starlight are kind of angling up to come up against JNGK as their own group's battle for 5th place, just as we saw between Incendia Evolution and WGS Phoenix. But that is some other future match down the line. The one in front of them, I mean, look at this absolute iron wall of a team on O2 Blast.
And there's plenty on the bench as well that can come through. This is just starting out with the 3 members joining from Runaway, which disbanded at the end of last season. So it doesn't start easy. In fact, it won't be. I wouldn't be surprised if O2 Blast flex their sub roster a little bit more. We actually saw Probe come in last week when, who did O2 play against? JNGK. We saw Probe coming in for at least 1 map. I think he was there for the Rialto. Can't remember if he was there for the King's Row, but definitely there for the Rialto. And assuming first map goes quite well for O2 Blast, yeah, you could see Probe again. You could see O2 Blast, you know, moving away from their standard starting lineup. And, you know, in a roster of 9 players, there's a few different combinations they can definitely really, you know, move into.
Yeah, might as well throw them in from time to time, huh? Keep it fresh, keep it interesting. But in all seriousness, yeah, absolutely a possibility. And I guess we'll take a look at the Starlight side as well, because as we said, there's that extra late minute change up. And, well, hey, would you look at that?
You see Spera coming in as well. He doesn't have the uniform yet, but Spera was the late addition to Starlight Gaming. Was signed just the week prior, I believe. So we'll see if Spera can really make the difference. I mean, recent signings have been pretty good for Incendia Evolution. Didn't get them the win at the end of the day, but made things a lot more competitive with Top Dragon coming in. Top Dragon, I would say, has had a bit more of a storied history of success coming through from at least another Contenders region. Looking over towards Starlight, I mean, Spera was most recently with WGS, kind of just briefly through the previous season. I can't even remember if Spera really got that much game time. He was actually listed as a trial. So Spera's been kind of in and out of a few different teams. The team that Spera was actually more well known for was last year when he played for Top Honor, which was a team that ended up finding a reasonable amount of success. But Starlight Gaming now, with Violetta coming in, I believe that was the final substitution. I think originally Starlight Gaming were thinking about playing Emolga first, but they also have, how many on this team? 9 players on the roster, so the same as what we have on the O2 Blast side of things. But overall, you know, not particularly massive names. The biggest name on this team is by far going to be probably Decal for having won a Contender season with Talon way back when they were still in the PAC region, the Pacific region, and Taka, who's an ex-member of T1. So there are some, you know, bright spots on this roster that can get some damage done, but they're up against the Juggernaut. So again, this is going to be a rough game.
Rough game indeed, no two ways about it, but look, we'll see what they can maybe pull out. at the very least, this is one of those instances where you go, if they can score points off O2 Blast, maybe even outside chance take a map away, that's better than what JNGK have been able to accomplish, and that's the torch that Starlight would hold high for their inevitable matchup against JNGK. Like I said, the probable battle for 5th place.
I mean,
assuming that's what comes to pass.
I mean, that being said as well, I mean, it's just even looking back, JNGK, they had a map win versus BM. So as far as getting maps and contenders goes, they actually managed to get a map before. No, I tell a straight lie. Starlight actually have a map versus T1. So Starlight in their complete opening match of the season have already done better than the previous season. So well done. They've actually already done that. So now, based on that, can we get a little bit more out of Starlight? Because T1 and O2 are kind of, those are the 2 top dogs of this particular group. So they managed to get Havana versus T1. I mean, O2 Blast being the closest competition. Now suddenly that opens things up to be like, well, is it possible? Is there anything to work with there? I still expect that O2 Blast should be too difficult, but look, I'm ready to be surprised. I'm ready for Starlight to show me something.
I mean, right? That's kind of the same tired old line almost every time we see O2 Blast coming up, right? It's sort of like you talk about the other team and going, yeah, look, I'm ready to be surprised. Like the relative metric kind of shifts because you don't go into it going, yeah, they're going to win. You go into it going, what can they accomplish here? Because there's the short term, the match to match, the week to week kind of thing. But there's the longer term thing to consider of the tournament as a whole, right? Like if you can have a reasonable showing here, if you can actually be the first team in your group to take a map away from a team like O2 Blast, and then you make it through, into the playoffs, and hey, look, maybe you could improve in that time as well, and there's a very real opportunity that you can actually come up against them again. It'll still be a tough ask, but you can improve a significant amount over the course of a season. That is also to say nothing about the kind of the year-on-year, the season-on-season trajectory that some of these teams do take. So, like, there is a lot to talk about that is outside of the scope of this one match on its own, and that is largely because you don't have super high expectations out of this one match. It's all about what you can maybe set as a precedent for your trajectory as a team.
Moving into the matchup here as well in terms of what we can expect. I mean, Starlight have been predominantly playing a lot of Orisa gameplay. They've had some notable experience on. I'm just even looking through the previous compositions here. Opening map have some possibility seeing some ball out there as well from Songen, but I'm beyond that. I'm looking over towards mainly Orisa coming through from Starlight today, and also wondering, how they manage their sort of sub pool. Like, do we see them flex their sub pool a little bit more as well? Or are we going to stick with mainly Spirit today? And what Spirit is going to be specifically bringing to the table? Like, to give context as well, I mean, I talk about that full hold they managed to get on Havana versus T1. That was actually a fuller hold. They were not able to get past A of Havana, but then managed to get an even better hold versus T1. So, hey, I mean, look, these situations can and will occur. So,
yeah,
maybe that could happen one more time.
Always possibilities, but as we come on through to the maps themselves, obviously, same thing as what we had before. We will kick things off on to Busan, moving on to Blizzard World Route 66, and then Temple of Anubis if we really feel like having a draw thrown in there. See what it did there? I made a meta comment on the state of Assault as a game mode.
Very good, very good.
Am I a professional now?
Although I don't even know if we're going to get the draw here. We've still only seen 2 draws.
I don't know that we're going to get that far in the first place.
Well, you'd have to go to a map 4. And so you'd have to be like, well, is there a chance that Starlight finds a map win before that case? Is there a chance that on Route 66 Blizzard World maybe? Could there be a map win? You've also had, by the way, I think Taka is the one member of Starlight that never gets subbed out. So he's been the solid starter for Starlight the entire way through, based on what we've seen. November comes into play a bit of Hanzo. We've seen Decal come into play a bit of Farah. And now Spirit looking like he'll be starting over towards the Sombra. So it should be Tracer Sombra to start things out with. And I had a thought about the Zari, but we'll think better of it. Is going to be the Diva instead for O2 Blast phase on his actually signature Zari. So if there's a chance for FaZe to play Zari, that will certainly be it.
Just a pretty solid rollout now. Not quite getting that early manual hack, but hey, live and learn. As O2 Blast just sort of angling towards the point. Starlight have the slightly quicker rotation to it, so we'll see how O2 Blast approach. Phase on the Xayah could be a big difference maker if he can get that charge up. Naturally, that's not always an easy ask.
Especially when you are going to have Spear on the other side as well, who should have a favorable matchup here. Again, no D.Va Spy checking on the other end to deal with. Merit should have actually spotted Spear there as well, destroying Translocator.
Okay.
That's a freebie onto Maka.
Yeah, that's a big one for one thing, but also Starlight just kind of walked off the point. They decided to not really contest and fight for it, try to rotate back, and then O2 Blast. You know, they've got one gun in each hand. They keep the point under control. They keep someone there, and they also dive on Starlight, who are in that sort of rotation back away from O2 Blast. They didn't need to give up that space either.
I mean, it's 2 blasts, 2 guns, not 1 blast or 1 gun here.
Ah, that makes sense. I thought it was to do with like an oxygen-rich environment being ignited.
Yeah, you mean, it's just O2 really. It used to be O2 Ardian back in the day, then they became O2 Blast. That's a bit of a history lesson on where O2 has come from, Manuel Hacker to Junbin.
Thank you, Wolf.
But Starlight Gaming still yet to make any real headway.
Proper does have himself his first Pulse Bomb, leading Taka on that. Not by an egregious margin, but still technically leading. We'll have to see if either actually gets something with Pulse Bomb. Marco is just about kept pace with Finn, but also it's half the fullness accrued already for O2 Blast, so that's the one. Now that looks to get the 2, I don't know. Taka brought a little bit low. Pulse Bomb out. He just straight up goes down to Proper, but he does get the stick. That's a fun one. Junbin now just kind of holding the situation on the point itself as both Transcendences have been committed. You had FaZe go down there as well, by the way, so EMP across from Merit. Where's the follow-up? Junbin gets taken out. They're not able to get anything done off that EMP, which I think only actually found Violetta in the end. So this is Starlight well poised to take this one out from under O2.
I mean, they destroyed Proper right at the start. There was a reasonable trade from Taka. Look, if you are going to die, you take down Proper with you. Speaking of taking down Proper, the Pulse Bomb will be gone, so good eat from Violetta. O2 Blast actually, for the first time so far, at least on the back foot, we are getting some good gameplay from Starlight here, getting a good cap. EMP in their favor. That's going to really put some hurt onto O2 because they don't have the rally. They don't have the Transcendence either. They do lose a play. Spirit's got to start looking for a move in.
Yeah, Proper just kind of gets the one-man run down with the guns. Boonjo going to go ahead, commit the rally. Here's the EMP across. They find Finn. That's a good high-priority target. Looking to find Sheer as well. Great finds there for Starlight. Very much keeping the minute as the rally continues on the points. Just clearing out those mines that Junbin laid down. It's actually enough to clear off Taka. A little unfortunate, but has forced the reset out of O2.
Shio actually chose not to rally there, which I'm a little surprised by, because I have to imagine that if you're O2 Blast, you have to think about the fact that, yeah, you may be 1+ here. You may be in a 6v5. But if you're tracking EMPs properly, you know Spear is going to be coming in, and you know Finn doesn't have Transcendence, so the only defense you have is going to be the rally, which eventually now does get played into. Still haven't capped yet. Still waiting for this grab. FaZe has been hacked.
Yeah, manual hack for the time being, but about to end up the better side of it. Now Sungyun already dead. Marker drilled down by Proper. Great find. Might not even need the grab by the time it's available here. Violator looking to get demeched, will be finished off. The grab would be moot. They might as well use it to try and secure what is likely to be the final fight as they regain possession of the point.
And Proper doesn't even need help. He's going to be a raid boss on his own. Just takes down the entire support line. Demects Violator as well. Has an ultimate available, and through skill and sheer, prowess in his own mechanical ability, O2 Blast are going to be ahead. 90% soon to be found here with 4 ultimates up. Just the Transcendence on the other end, and Transcendence cannot be saving you from this situation where Merit can just roll you down. Super
huge. The Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect from Proper, but I mean, hey, I don't know if that's really a big issue for them. Boonjo's off over the edge. The grab, they might as well toss it out at this point and lock down Sungyun. That's not a bad person to lock down, I suppose. Stops them from stalling the point until Kingdom Come. Not a single casualty on O2 Blast. They shouldn't have said anything. FaZe died in the end, but still 99 to 75. Look, credit to Starlight, actually. They got that flip. They managed to even up the percentage in that course of time as well, but O2 Blast, I mean, they really are just that good.
It's even if Starlight gets 99 here, you'll have to feel that it's not over O2. It's not at all over O2 until you secure the 100 and O2 have for sure lost. Their ability to come back in, clutch, and just make these turnarounds are going to be far too successful. So Starlight now, as we head into downtown, make a change over towards the Orisa. Did Spera go over towards Soldier will be the big question here, because the Soldier McCree has started to find a lot of popularity. O2 Blast looking like they'll be starting out on towards the Winston Anna, so very different composition. I don't believe Proper would really be playing Genji, but honestly, it wouldn't be that surprising either, because Genji, Winston Anna has started to become that real big composition, and Merit will be taking up the Tracer.
Yeah, I mean, why not play Genji these days, I guess? All the cool kids are doing it. By cool kids, I mean Ardo. Proper would fancy himself a fair Ardo. That's a good result, actually. The headshot, I think that's a deflect as well. Immediately finds Maka as well.
Wow.
Proper 2-4, look at that. Proper really on to it, and even with the trade onto Junbin, honestly, O2 Blast, I think they should be just fine on this point here.
I mean, look at that. It just gets the 2 solo kills off the bat. That's ridiculous. I mean, Genji has some of the worst neutral gameplay in this entire game, but when he just does that and just collects player advantages, you know, what are you supposed to do about it? So yeah, he will go down, and FaZe and Shio are pretty low as well. Starlight might be able to turn this around.
That was a real save there, actually. Maka came back in, came in on the bat, immediately put down an Immortality Field. That saved Starlight in a huge way. Spera, nice clean up there with the triple, looking to get 4 as well for his money. And that was really critical because Proper, he got those couple of kills, sure, they got the point as well, but Junbin was dead. They couldn't push it any further. And then Proper ends up going down. Starlight, eyes being in their stomachs, actually start pushing in. Just as their tanks are about to get killed and be punished, Maka comes into the rescue with a really clutch Immortality Field, and they win the fight.
It just comes up from Proper's initial, getting Proper down first. That was the first frag that Starlight got, and they ended up being able to snowball that a little bit further. Primal Rage coming through from Jumba now. It was saved over from the last fight.
I like that you nearly said snowball there, because it made me think of like a Nobel Prize, but for teams that successfully snowball a fight. And I'm going to now use that in future. I'm going to reference this one particular broadcast for the rest of my career. Self-destruct just kind of laid out because FaZe might as well reset the mech. We'll be able to... Actually, no, here we go. Only just getting back in it. That was a bit of a funky one, but at any rate, damage long since done. O2 Blast looking pretty good. Spera does get a couple of trade backs there, but at the end of the day, the stick will collect him just for funsies. And O2 Blast will be able to regain possession of the point. They are behind, though, strictly speaking.
It's almost like an overkill stick that was. I mean, I'm pretty sure Spera was going to be out of the fight. I'm pretty sure Spera wasn't going to be able to really get a clutch up there as a lone soldier. And O2 Blast will have nearly a Nano Blade available after expending most of their ultimates to come back. And Spera moving through the top there, going hard, anti-dive, trying to ruin the gameplay of Proper as much as they can, trying to ruin Marriott's gameplay as much as they can, as well as Starlight just do not want O2 to have any successful dives. Nano Blade will be used here.
All right. Here's the commit in. They've found the Immortality Field. Now it's free pickings. Look at that. Immediately finds 2. A third, fourth, fifth. Come on, can he get 6? Does have to put it away. May yet be able to get the finish up on Violetta. Let him have it. Oh, this is gross. I think they will let Proper have it.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know that they care too much about it. No, Chio will steal it away. And probably even dash for it as well, so... A little bit unfortunate there, but you'll take the 5, and that's one of the better Nano Blades that we've seen. We saw some good plays from Top Dragon today, but Proper's just going to show up, and he's really flexing his hero pool as well, because he's, again, one of those rare players that has phenomenal hit scans and phenomenal projectiles across all these different aiming disciplines. It's wild. It's rare to see a player that is this flexible and this skilled on so many heroes. You talked about Starlight having a lead, by the way. That lead is gone.
Yeah, long gone, and now they're way on the back foot already. Proper dropping Sungun with the dash, the quick reset to get back to safety. Now Violetta, D-Mech, no effective tanks here, and another sleeve. Violetta is having flashbacks, or at the very least having bad dreams, some nightmares about what just happened to him in the real world. Spera now taken out. Proper does die, sure, but at this point the damage is long since done. Will be crossing the 99 threshold. Nobody alive to stall out for Starlight, so there you go, 100 to 51.
And Starlight even had ultimates coming online, but O2 Blast pacing just a little bit too quick there. They force a fight early, the rally straight away, self-destruct in. And Starlight, I think they just kind of die there without having the opportunity to spend any ultimates. You have Taka and Maka just slowly coming online, and they just end up dying fairly quickly. This is Starlight, by the way, playing a full anti-dive comp with Spera changing to the Torb. Proper doesn't care. He's got a Nano. They even stunned Proper, by the way, at the start of the Nano, put him down to half HP. And then he just blades away. Dash resets 5k into a massive stall on the Baby Diva as well. So, good by Starlight to kind of force some fights to go their way. And it's not just one-sided gameplay. You are seeing Starlight win some fights. But overall, O2 Blast, even though they were behind in some cases, like downtown, 0-51 was the start. It doesn't feel like they'll be behind for too long.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just impressive at the end of the day. It's exactly what you expect out of O2 Blast, and, you know, they're kind of getting to show off a little bit. It doesn't even feel like it's in a rude kind of way. It's sort of like when Usain Bolt does the Superman posing after he's just smashed another personal record. It's like, you know what? Fair enough. There's no ego in it. They know they're good. and they're playing to their beats. They're playing exactly as well as they are.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they even give the Tracer position over to Merit as well is just showing O2's capability of,
Why not?
at this stage, the main Tracer player has been proper, but if he's going to go Genji, let Merit go, give this a go, and Merit's been okay on the Tracer. I wouldn't say it's been one of Merit's really, really good heroes. I think most of Merit's really good heroes, let's be honest here, it's the Ashe. Ashe's Merit's really good hero is banned, so it's going to be a bit of a tough regular season in terms of his hero pool. So he's been mainly playing Sombra Tracer. If you look far back, Merit actually made a bit of a name for himself on the Hanzo, like in 2019. So we'll see if he makes that kind of a callback. But generally speaking, everything here should be Proper's first choice of what hero he's going to be playing, and Merit then, fitting around that in terms of what else you need to kind of complete the composition. And whatever Proper goes, I'll just trust it. I'll just believe it's going to be good. I'll believe that he'll perform on it. He's one of those players that, like, I won't even criticize it if he plays the Genji, and I've been doing plenty of that this season so far. But look, if he jumps on it, it's going to be good. And yeah, he sliced and diced. He made it look easy.
Yep, really did. And maybe it's because it was easy for him. Let's be completely clear about that. Again, like this, it's an excellent team. It's exactly what you're expecting. It's almost like when your national sports team has like a scrimmage against like one of the up and comers of like the college scene or something. Like, it's not like the college team is a bad team. It's just like, yeah, this is about to be expected. Everyone's just here for a good time.
It's like when the United States dream team for the Olympics was coming around, and they just had all NBA players for the first time in their basketball dream team, and they're literally going up against like other national teams which obviously don't have NBA players. It's just a bit of a roll.
Like,
they're having a good time. They can literally they can show off, and they can just do whatever they want. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I was having a conversation with someone recently. This is surrounding the Olympics, where they were talking about how like there was a particular language that has this really like super specific word for when a team loses, but the people who support them are happy that they lost. And I'm like, they're like, we were talking about that, and they're like, yeah, I feel like English doesn't have a lot of those same kind of words. Like, there's always those words in foreign languages. And then I was like, that's not true. We actually have a lot of extremely specific words. We just don't think about it. Like, we have a word, a single word, the sole meaning of which is when somebody tricks you into clicking on a video of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Like, we have a single word that means that very specific thing. Just to take us on this tangent.
So 1992 is the year the Dream Team went to the Olympics.
There you go.
And where was
I don't remember personally.
1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona is where they went
you go.
as well.
That's isn't that the one that Freddie Mercury did a song for? No, couldn't have been. He did that song Barcelona, where he just says Barcelona and over, and it was for an Olympics.
So they had Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley.
Wow.
Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, obviously leading the way there. And when MJ's leading that team, it's just gonna go one way. That Larry Bird. I mean,
gosh, that's so
Patrick
gross.
Ewing, and that's just their starting lineup. So, which is
wait till you see their finishing lineup.
That's the thing is that you talk about O2 Blast and you mention these names, like that's just the starting lineup.
Yeah, yeah. It's not. The backbench is deep and powerful.
It feels like they made a dream team on O2 because they took the some strong parts of Runaway, but Runaway disbanded. It's like, we'll give you a home, and O2 literally, to make that happen, literally like loaned three other players who they, by the way, won a championship with over to BM Hawk to make space for the Runaway players so that they could win even harder.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, it also, look, just to kind of recontextualize this as well in the more favorable kind of way that it's all intended. Look, O2 Blast, they're on a hot trajectory right now. They won Season 1 this year. Super important win for them, because obviously last year they won Season 1, could not replicate it in Season 2, didn't get the turnaround kind of result that they were looking for. They had a really rough Season 2, actually.
Yeah. Really bad.
And it's like, after all the hard work to finally win a season, they then aren't able to replicate the success. Now they're looking to accomplish what they failed to last year, which is get to the back-to-back and possibly even, fingers crossed, get the hat trick. If they end up being able to go to Gauntlet again, if they can pick up a win there, get the full 3. And it's It's a tough
Because you know
ask,
what?
there's no two ways about it, but they are absolutely on track, and it's all about keeping cool, staying course, and staying at the top of your game all year long.
When O2 Blast won Season 1 this year, called them the Kings of Spring, because it seems like that's kind of the season, that's kind of that opening first half of the year where they're very, very good. And obviously I'm talking about Spring and Northern Hemisphere where Contenders' career is technically held. And so O2 Blast, Season 1, great, fantastic. But Season 2s for O2 Blast have never been that good. Last year, big example. The year before as well, big example. They didn't go to Gauntlet. They didn't go to Gauntlet twice in a row. Both years Gauntlet was held, O2 Blast was not there. And yet this is a team that performs historically so well in the first season, and now they get another one in the first season. We will see how they perform this season. So far, has been a resounding start.
And it's been a wee while since we've had the sort of Korean winningest team of the year kind of thing. Obviously, last year, Gauntlet getting taken out by the Chinese favorites, and you know, O2 Blast, there's almost an element of international pride to restore. As much as Korea is still considered the strongest inherent region, there hasn't been that team to emerge from it for a hot minute, I would say. We haven't had the full, the Sebring, Daytona, Le Mans trifecta out of Korea for a couple of years now, since Element Mystic, really.
You literally had CC win the most recent Gauntlet, and they're still in this Korea season as Junbin will get traded for Attacker's life there. O2 Blast can still keep this defensive start going strong if they can just keep Chio alive, which they're failing to do. Travis Ethan.
Oh, that's really big. Really, really big from Violetta coming up clutch as Max also taken down immediately thereafter. Finn with the Transcendence. All those ultimates that they were able to charge up in such short order get completely undone. Violetta does at least, he gets himself another one. He's a hungry guy today, finding the Pulse Bomb as well out of proper, now jumping in to get drilled down. Starlight, that's a pretty handy time on the cab, not gonna lie.
Well played by Violetta, honestly. Just eating away two ultimates there. The timing of the ultimates for Starlight, just that's much better than O2 Blast, where you can tell they were slightly behind. They didn't quite have the Transcendence in time. I'm sure they would use Transcendence straight away if they had it when Matrix dropped down. Grav just barely came online. Max throws that one out there. I think O2 Blast will be making a lot of these plays today, for better or worse. And, some of it will be worth a critique as well, but O2 Blast, you'll find, are going to throw ultimates in losing scenarios because they have so much confidence that they should be able to outskill Starlight. And on paper, they absolutely should be, but not if your Grav gets eaten and not if your Pulse gets eaten as well.
And now, Spera looking to preserve a bit of that momentum. They've got the right ultimates for this, obviously. They've got the Dragon Strike, they've got... oh, damn. I was about to say they got a supercharger, but nope, solo kill. Straight onto Spera, immediately takes out one of those. The Immortality Field God. Good trade onto Kilo, but Sungen's down now. Taka as well. And I mean, O2 Blast, it's like they flex their left bicep, and like someone on Starlight just drops dead.
And I mean, Proper is definitely one of those biceps. Depending if you're left-handed or right-handed, the guy just solo kills Spera out of nowhere, just drops on top of him. That's 65.
Proper is the left bicep, and whichever other DPS is on with him is the right bicep.
I would almost say it's the other way around, but again, maybe O2 Blast are left-handed here, but in either case, what I'm trying to say is Proper will simply generate you a player advantage out of nowhere. It doesn't matter if you're behind on ultimates, doesn't matter like what the situation is. If there's a way for him to make it at 6v5, he'll do that. And now SLT, they have 5 ultimates, but guess what? They had like 4 to 5 ultimates. They had a lot of ultimates last fight as well, but they just dropped members and Matrix to come through first. That will give Violetta some crucial alone time on the payload.
Now Starlight just regetting this momentum is going to be tough. Going to be Deadeye first, just to at the very least force O2 Blast to run for the hills. Proper actually nearly eats it. He does in fact eat it. That's really big. Immortality Field's going to be all but impossible to deal with here as well, with where it's positioned. That's full value, but Starlight, they still need to actually get the push forward. Proper's respawned.
Hang on, can they go on this grab? They're not actually able to go on this grab, so it's another really aggressive grab from Max, and Max will go down straight away. Taka, and 2 really important kills back-to-back. Proper should be coming back any moment now, and O2 Blast are getting ready for this one. They're going to rally through.
Yep, Max is trying his hardest to make this a fair fight for Starlight. Okay, here we go. Proper back in, looking to get the run down on the backside as they've found the Immortality Field. There's Maka to follow. And Starlight now just in a really awkward spot here. Chio staying alive. They do have to commit the Transcendence to make that happen, but the cart's not even been moving during the course of this fight anyway. This is a fight off the cart. They'll get a late kill onto Sungoon as well, so just big time lossage here.
I think,
and Max is like, you know what, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop missing grabs. I'm just going to play Diva.
And I think for Starlight as well, the reason why they weren't on the payload is obviously they're playing an Orisa offense here, and at some level they want to get some high ground offense. They want to get some high ground control going, so they try and, you know, they try and rotate through the indoors area, go upstairs, and that is exactly when O2 Blast strikes. And I talked about this already, but Proper will find ways to give your team a player advantage, drops a pulse bomb, gets an opening kill. O2 Blast and start playing through just the rest of their ultimates, rotating through them all, and finds good value. Chio, for some reason, is on a Mercy here. I imagine it's here to pocket Kilo. It's a bit of a different kind of strategy. You almost never see this.
I was going to say, maybe it's there so that he can raise Max when he dies after missing grab. but no, obviously Max on the Diva anyway. And Starlight, another minute lost here as they're slowly angling towards us. Okay, now's your chance to res Kilo. Come on, Chio. Come on. Where are you, bud? There he is. Mark is looking to go down here. Has to deploy the Immortality Field to rescue that one. Goes down. There we go. Hey, Violetta. He's still a hungry guy. That's another Pulse Bomb found, but still. The damage is just going to be overwhelming out of O2 Blast. No alarms, no surprises. And Starlight, a couple of trade backs actually late in the bout here. Still not actually on the cart yet, and Kilo still sky high. Should be able to pop a DMAC on Violetta, who can actually reset with a self-destruct, and Max and Finn also dead late in it.
I mean, Takka's on 14 HP, but really Takka's saving the situation for Starlight. If it wasn't for the fact that Takka got a couple of picks here, I mean, Proper goes down via the flashbang.
Yeah.
Takka then converts a little bit further as well, and I mean, if that didn't happen, Starlight just lose the fight. They still kind of soft lose that one, in a way where I say soft lose because they didn't have to fully reset. It's about 10 seconds remaining now. They have to play the payload regardless. At least have the ultimates to do that. They can snowball, Dragon Strike into Supercharge it, into Ant Matrix, or whatever order they want to play it in. Another great
choice is theirs. Oh, Kilo's down. All right, Chio, you're up again. Max is in a little bit of a heat situation, but Proper will find one back on Tack, and now with the res on Kilo, it's a straight man advantage being accumulated. Mines down, self-destruct laid out as well. Good Dragon Strike across, just splits O2 Blast a little bit. They are looking to regroup in with the kill on Violetta. Also, no Immortality Field left. There's another stick. That's the second one in the fight, by the way. First one got ate by Violetta, so Proper goes, that's all right, I'll just charge another one. You can have that one.
And notably gets the kill into Takka there early on as well, I think. So
with the res on Kilo, that ends up being a really favorable trade for O2 Blast.
And the big part about that as well, like you mentioned, just gets a second pulse bomb. So if it wasn't for the fact that Violetta's eaten one grab and 2 pulses, this could have been even worse for Starlight. In fact, I think that those specific eats and some of the really great individual pickups that Takka has found is what gives Starlight the capability to even get to the end of B.
So, Starlight. That was the attacking half. I think the path forward here is if they can just draw a lot of time off the clock on A, if they can really stall out O2 Blast, then that's where the opportunity lies, because they did at least get a reasonable amount. They nearly did get it all the way over to the cap, which is good when you consider how long they were stopped up for sort of in the first third of B. So that's what the win condition's got to be now for Starlight. That's the path to victory.
Another one of Proper's really good picks here. Widowmaker. I think there was a Widowmaker meta sometime back, I remember, when we were covering O2, and Proper was so incredibly deadly on this Widow that at one point, I think we did agree that he was maybe the best Widow in the region. And the thing about saying that is, at some point, pretty much every single one of the heroes that Proper has played, I think I've mentioned that, yeah, he's probably the best in Korea at this hero. So again, just really showing off the capability on the hero. But obviously not going to be staying on the Widowmaker. Just going for the opening shots. Realizes that it's going to be a bunker composition with the shield. So like saying, true to their strengths of wanting to be an Orisa-based team. As O2 Blast, Kilo back over towards the Hanzo, look to crack the shield, and O2 Blast for the rotations.
Pretty straightforward. And like I said, the damage boost as well. Close to respawn for O2 Blast, but in a pinch, they've got the res. It's all just a matter of time, really. That's the real question. I was sort of saying Starlight, it's how much time can they burn off the clock for O2.
Actually, I'm starting to like the idea of the Mercy here. Because you don't really need a Brig. I mean, the Brig is good. You can, have a little bit more healing for Junbin and Proper.
Yeah, you just damage boost for shield busting.
And you can maybe, get a shield bash on Sphere. But aside from that, Starlight are not really looking to flank outside of the one Tracer. So the Mercy for the damage boost and the shield, it's starting to make a lot more sense.
You're feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Max going to get topped off pretty handily. Chio looking to stay in the pocket of Kilo, so he didn't want to peel off to heal Max up. He had to go the long way, find a health pack, but at any rate now, as the jaws close around the prey, O2 Blast looking to angle in from the side. Good damage on Junbin. Max looking to get D-Mech. That's a good find. It's a man advantage straight up, and not a super easy one to res. Violetta does go down to the trade, so if they can get a res in, that could be big. They do go for it on Max, and it works out because Kilo, unattempted even as he was, while Chia was getting that res on, goes in and picks up 3, Proper getting one for himself as well. The Pulse Bomb goes wide from Sparrow as Kilo puts another tally on his bow. They're going to be able to get that cap. That's not really enough slowdown, I think, for Starlight on that A defense.
I was going to say as well, maybe Starlight actually survived that situation because I'm not too sure if anyone else realized this, but Boonjo and Maka on the support line of Starlight were like inches away from dying to the Dragon Strike. If Kilo's Dragon Strike was a little bit slightly towards his left, just a couple more degrees, I'm pretty sure both the supports are 100% guaranteed dead. They were very lucky to not die to that Dragon Strike, and even with that in the favor of Starlight Gaming, he couldn't quite survive. Tackle and Misty. I shot into Junbin as O2 Blast is still pushing in, and look at this, nearly 6 ultimates.
Yep, it's exactly where they want to be. Full Christmas tree. Happy birthday, Jesus. O2 Blast.
Oh, Violetta, Jesus Christ.
Man, Violetta's really onto it with these, you got to say. Again, Proper sort of like, that's all right. It's like when you're like getting lunch with your wealthy friend and you're like, oh, actually, I really wish I had ordered something. He's like, oh, you can have my burger. Hey, what? He goes back for seconds. He's not full yet. He's still a hungry guy.
How about 5th? This looks like that's the 5th ultimate he's eaten so far.
I mean, this is actually kind of funny now, the absolute consistency of it. Wow, Junbin even goes down here, so this is actually looking pretty good. They do get the trade-off with Sungun, Violetta barely getting back in the mech, but this Ant Matrix not really getting a whole lot of value for them. Good D-Mech on Max and the kill, but the Razor's in on Junbin anyway, so again, it's still even here for O2 Blast, and they keep applying the pressure. Now Proper does get killed off. It's a trade. Tacker coming in big. Man. That's what they needed. Looking to get the follow-up here onto the Mercy, trying to squeak away. Will actually be able to fly to safety there, but Violetta late D-Mech is a little unfortunate. It is a stoppage, though, accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, it's Tacker can just find these skills as well.
Ooh.
McCree's been really sharp today. Violetta with the solo kill to Finn. Numbers are still not looking great for Starlight. They lose their supports, and Proper is now unleashed. Yeah,
I think Starlight didn't actually respect the closeness of O2 Blast's respawn. They were still kind of hanging around going, yeah, we'll fight it on the cart when they come back in, but O2 Blast was still kind of scrapping, finding late trades, and it ends up paying off for them.
I hope Violetta's got room for supper and dessert, because there's another Dragon Strike and another Pulse Bomb ready to go.
Oh, you can bet you
ways that Violetta and Starlight Gaming can actually hold this defense against O2, who have full payload control and moving along with a three-man push as well, is I think Violetta's going to have to eat at least one of these 2 ultimates.
Yeah, no, you can bet you he does. He's got room. In fact, he's still got dinner reservations after this. This isn't even him filling up on breadsticks. Dude's just got 4 cow stomachs. That just made me think of Holiday Cow. You remember that guy back in the Pacific days? Anyway, he would play D.Va. That's beside the point. Here's the first one out. Violator, no, doesn't fancy that one and ends up finding Tacker. And I imagine Tacker's there like, no, you didn't want that one, Violator. You weren't hungry enough. But at any rate, the cart just kind of sails off. That's a victory lap transcendence as well.
To be honest with you, though, Kilo dropped in that grab from the dragon from so far away, rather, that there was no chance.
Yeah, you were never going to get that.
Was going to get that. He played that super safe. He's like, no more. I cannot feed any more ultimates into this guy. Drops in the Dragon Strike from across the entire side of the map. So maximum safety there. And the fact that they just get the payload across, I mean, you can't hope for a better Dragon Strike. One that just sails across the actual point capture itself, allows the payload to just swing in for an easy cap, knowing that no one can contest that. That's the power of Dragon Strike. Greatest zoning ultimate in the game, honestly speaking. So, O2 Blast, some resistance felt. I mean, I can describe the entire series so far, the 2 maps that we've seen from Starlight's POV, absolutely just putting up the resistance. They are not making it easy, but O2 Blast still just seem like an unstoppable force. And unfortunately for Starlight, they are anything but an immovable object.
There is only so much you can do against a team like O2 Blast in the current state of this tournament, you know, unless you are the Talons, the T1s, and the CCs of the world. And even then, a lot of them don't have the easiest time against them. In fact, we've already had, I think, O2 versus Talon. No, I'm thinking of, sorry, O2 versus T1, but I'm thinking of Talon versus CC, I think. At any rate, still to come later on down the line, right? But even then, like, what will T1 be able to accomplish? Because at this point, as you rightly pointed out, Starlight actually took a map off T1. They're on the cusp of getting 3-0'd by O2. And that is where they find themselves now. The score is O2, not at all favoring Starlight. We'll have to see if O2 Blast can pick up their third 3-0 in a row, get the proper hat trick, and that'll comes up after this short break. Welcome back then. 2-0 for 0-2. That is 0-2 as in blast, and an absolute blast this has been. Starlight Gaming looking to get blasted away, and that's about all the blasts I can fit into this sentence.
And really the only time this 0-2 reference for a scoreline doesn't work is if we come back from the break and it's actually 1-1. So thankfully, most of the time
they've really named the team.
What
if they were called 1-1 blast?
Yeah, 11 blasts is actually what you're looking for here.
11 blasts.
But yeah, it works because mostly they're either 0-2 or 2-0. And they've been 0-2 back in the day, especially, again, we keep talking about Season 2 0-2 blast last year, where they fell off massively. Look, they lost their coach, Chua, beyond that as well. By the way, he's now on the Washington Justice. And they looked kind of lost. I mean, they mostly still kept the same roster. It's not like they had a downgrade in roster. If anything, it felt like they had a bigger downgrade in roster between 2020 Season 2 and 2021 this year Season 1, and yet Season 1 was a big season for them because they won again. They were the champions with, dare I say, in some ways I want to say less competition, but honestly that's not true because Talon took them the full distance.
Season 1
CC were defending champions from Gauntlet, so Season 1 this year was actually mega competitive.
We even said it the whole way through. It is like the single most stacked season we've had. And obviously when the dust settled, what it was is this immensely stacked season with only one other team in that incredibly powerful pool that could actually genuinely challenge 0-2 Blast in the form of Talon. But it was still incredibly stacked. Like, there were so many teams that all looked extremely good. It just turned out so much of that race was really for third and second place and not actually for first.
And even Runaway coming. I was going to say FaZe coming, which he does come in.
Well, he is
FaZe
also
was on that Runaway team.
Max is like, you know what? Just sub me out, coach.
I mean, I don't even know anymore because 0-2 Blast, FaZe, and Max just kind of play the same things. And what it really comes down to for 0-2 is if anyone's curious about the way they sub in players, and I'm a little surprised Probe's not even playing just yet, as they've got Kilo in for Merit, who I guess Kilo's just here to play Hanzo today. 0-2 are very active and very liberal with how they move around their members. There's sometimes it doesn't feel like there's a lot of specific reasoning there. I mean, Vindime gets played sometimes as well, but Chio today has stayed in all 3 maps. And part of that might just because they want to keep him on the Mercy, because this Mercy pocketing Hanzo, Kilo's Hanzo, is kind of doing some work.
So out the gate, 0-2 Blast is going to be on this defense, and it's all just about, you know, how far can Starlight actually push it, because that determines how much wiggle room they've got to play with on the defense. 0-2 Blast obviously want to choke this out as close to spawn as is physically possible. Starlight certainly got a mountain ahead of them.
Slam coming in. Yeah, that's going to be something popped up. Also the fortify straight away.
Good damage actually coming across onto FaZe is going to force 0-2 Blast back a little bit, give a bit of space, give a bit of respect. So really important there. They weren't able to really go hard onto Sungun.
Ultimate's coming online now, Proper and Kilo. Looking towards the first 2 of the game so far. Maka, despite being on this map, who usually has very high healing, just is only on 70% towards an Ant Matrix. Not ideal. Jumbin this time with a solo frag on Spera.
Oh boy. That's a bit of a heartbreaker for Starlight, and now you'll probably see 0-2 Blast try and capitalize, looking to get the spam damage across, maybe break some shields. They don't want to get overzealous, they're respecting it, they don't want to overextend and risk getting fully wiped out of this position.
Okay, well, we are waiting for Maka. Here we go. That's the window deployment. Proper can challenge this, and in fact, Kilo will challenge it. Should be Dragon Strike through it, so SLT actually can't really use that window effectively. Oh, that healing is super clutch. Sungun was a hair's breadth from dead. Bunjo traded for FaZe's mech. FaZe looking to go down here. Nope, stays alive. Junbin not so lucky, but traded for Sungun. So there we go. Finn even collecting one for himself. Why not? It's Proper and Kilo just keeping the forward pressure down. The pulse one goes wide. This may well be Spera going down. Yeah, FaZe actually getting it with the remake. Never gets sold to me. No, Taka's going to move over towards the Hanzo here as well now, so looking for a bit more long-range presence. Bit of a shame because Taka's McCree was putting in a huge amount of work, especially on that last map of Blizzard World as well, but I think on Route 66, especially on the A point, when there's such a heavy range advantage that Kilo has, Taka just wants a better opportunity to match. Bend down attack. I mean, there we go. Instant
Chio
value.
can res, though. That is a long-range kill, so Chio can res, but look at where he is. He has to pop the Transcendence immediately. They're going to have to make a fight happen right there. In that case, they found the Immortality Field. Maka to follow. Bunjo with the rally running is the only thing keeping Starlight in it when all said and done. Self-destruct up from Violet not getting anything as Sungun dies to a Pulse Bomb, and Violet D-mechs just as soon as he remechs. O2 Blast, I mean, they're being very clear about their line of the sand. That was a forced fight, by the way, because Finn had to Transcendence after being rezzed or he was going to die.
Yeah, I mean, O2 Blast just clean up. What a strong set of play from Proper there. He makes Tracer look so easy. Pulse Bomb kill. Bunch of other just regular neutral kills there as well. And Starlight are down to 1 minute with the payload slowly moving backwards. Payload is now not even around the corner anymore. It is just barely under the bridge.
Yep.
At least there's double damage boosting ultimates available from Starlight, and you could have an opportunity where if
self-destruct,
the superchargers drop down, that could be a big one for Spear's Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, I mean, it at least gets stopped up, that self-destruct by the Immortality Field, but it leaves the tanks low enough that Finn just kind of slings one across to find Sungun. Really unfortunate. Good kill into Proper. That's unresable. It's at least traded with Maka. That's a bit of time bought.
It's really unresable with the Dragon Strike coming on in.
Junbin now down as well. This is an open window for Starlight. They've really got to go for this.
Okay, Proper's going to come back in. Junbin can also come back pretty quickly, so despite getting these frags, O2 have such fast characters at reinforcing here, and the payload is really far back in terms of distance because Starlight's lost so many fights in a row. It's 15 seconds, and they cannot leave the payload, and there is an extreme amount of distance they have to cover.
Now O2 Blast. They're fully reset. Look at the wraparound, actually. Junbin and Proper are in position to pinch the Starlight. They've already dealt with the supercharger. Taka is just completely stuck on the geometry. There's no way he can get out of from under the guns of Proper. Pulse Bomb, brilliant stick. Saved by the Immortality Field, but now with the Immortality Field dead, as well as the 2 DPSs of Starlight, there's not a whole lot left that they can actually do here. So the Dragon Strike across to these confined space members. They can't even get back out to the payload. O2 Blast, I mean, that's the benefit of holding as far forward as they had. They only lost the 2. They were fast resetters. They were back in the fight as soon as it started again.
So it's a full hold, and I didn't want to say it. I want to try and give Starlight the benefit of the doubt, but realistically, it would have been hard for it to be anything other than a full hold. If it was anything other than a full hold, I think Starlight have already overperformed, and O2 Blast probably underperformed. So here it is now. There was a reasonable amount of movement. Starlight got some good frags. I'll be honest, Taka, even on the Hanzo here, is doing some decent work, and you start to see now that Kilo and Junbin are hard targeting Taka because they know one of the few members that are actually putting up some big resistance and kill pressure on O2 Blast is really just Taka. So if they can shut down Taka, they shut down any chance for Starlight to get anything done.
All right. O2 Blast. I suppose the real question is, how quick is it going to be? I hate to do it, but I am going to discount the fuller hold. I think it's just it's too outside, right? Like, and it's completely reasonable to say as much in this case.
Even though they did it versus T1, I mean, does
that count for anything? I think O2 Blast is still just a completely different beast compared to T1. And, make of that what you will for their upcoming matchup, by the way. That is O2 versus T1, but at any rate, Starlight, we will have to see what they can accomplish on the defense.
All right, well, I'll give that to you. I mean, for what it's worth, I do agree. I think getting a fuller hold here it would not only require Starlight to, again, overperform, but you would need to see O2 Blast kind of drop the spaghetti here as well.
Yeah.
And they're not a team that's known to do that. At least not so far this season, not so far this year. Up and now back over towards the Genji. Notably, doesn't have an Ana support. Finn, for whatever reason, is playing a BAP, which has no synergy on his team, so that's probably not the right pick.
I mean, this isn't to be rude about it, but I think there's a good chance O2 could just win with this anyway. And a lot of it would probably just be if Proper or Kilo picks up a solo kill, picks up a frag, which they often do, and there you go. Look at that. Kilo's got one, FaZe has got another. Starlight,
look, at all.
No, not at all. It may even be just under a minute here. Actually, it looks like it's going to be pretty much dead on a minute. Obviously, they still have to close out the rest of the fight, but Starlight, I think they know that this is done for. They have yet to get a single traded kill, and that's even with a lot of these members brought low. It's an absolute dumpstering. They finally finish off Kilo. It's going to be just over a minute, so hey, look, there you go. They didn't quite get the full unsy, the hundy, but it will come over the line without too much difficulty for O2 Blast.
I figured out why Finn has a BAP here, so that he can drop an Immortality Field for Proper to go really deep. There it is.
Yeah, sure. The follow-up dive. Hold on, they actually might just turn this around. Give me a hot second because Chio's looking to go down here. That might just do it. The tanks are still in the mix, but Starlight have reinforced. That's actually O2 Blast pulled off the cart to go pick up a couple of extra victory lap kills that they didn't really need to get. So that's a little bit of a punish there.
I mean, it's O2 Blast showboating when they're ahead, and they will be punished for it, probably deservedly so, but we're looking at a situation where Finn actually goes over towards a Zen where he instantly gets fragged, and it's definitely, synergistic with his composition. Dragon Strike into Dragon Blade should be the finisher.
Yep, the double dragon combo is Maka already down. Now the blade out. Here we go. Looking to slice across onto Boonjo. We'll be able to get the D-Mech onto Violetta as well. Maybe even the platform. No, not quite. We'll just get her the old-fashioned way with a quick melee. And that's going to get it over the line. So it ends up taking a bit over 2 minutes instead of a bit over 1. But even so, it was only a matter of time. And it's not often you can speak with that kind of certainty in this job.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a skill gap there that even with them showboating for kills and getting punished, even with Finn going on the completely wrong hero for the composition, like I said, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It slowly extends the series. For one, I do prefer it if a team just, don't play with your food, just finish it off. Just get the win when you need to. That being said, though, I think we all expected the 3-0 result here. It would have been really strange, really weird for Starlight to get anything better than an 0-3. I think even them getting a map off of T1 was well above expectations.
Yep.
To be fair with you, that at least gives them, if nothing else, a better result than last season. Although, to be fair, the bar set very low last season with 0 map wins. Starlight still have opportunities. These were hard games. Starlight start their season, their first 2 games are versus T1 and O2. Everything else from now on should be smooth sailing.
Honestly, yeah, you could absolutely say that. The question is, what will they be able to accomplish with those other matchups ahead of them? Because look, there's still some room for danger in here. Let's not at all count out what's in here. But also the other thing that we were kind of talking about, I mentioned at the start of the series as well, J and GK, they're kind of the easy morsel, if you will. So that's the team. That's the team that Starlight will be looking to beat to ensure that they don't end up finishing last in the group. That's the game plan. Now that they're through the rough waters, it's all about making sure whatever remains of their ship can limp into harbor ahead of the other boats.
And now we have our last segment of the day, which is to give out the player of the match for that specific series. We have another situation where when a team is rolling so hard versus the competition, first thing that has to be said, and this feels a little bit performative from me, but whatever, but anyone could have had it, but really only one person can, and that one person is going to once again be proper. And I hate that I have to do that. I hate that I have to give it to him again. No, I don't really. I do enjoy.
He really is that good.
I don't want it to seem like, oh yeah, this guy is just like some proper simp and he's just biased for proper. He's just gonna give it to him every single time. Let's be honest. Look over that 3-map series. There was one player that just popped off literally the entire time. I guess it's easy to do that when you're the DPS, but it's even easier to do that when you're the star DPS and you're probably the best individual player in the entire country and the entire region right now. So, there's really, he pops off too hard. It would be it would be robbery to not give it to him, is the way I'll put it.
Yeah,
because
and look,
he simply played too well.
When the entire team is made up of excellence, your man of the match has to go to singular brilliance, and that's what Proper brings to the table over and over and over. So yeah, he gets player of the match. He's probably going to get it several more times again.
And the other thing as well is, like, I do favor, consistency over the series. So players that have played all the maps and didn't get subbed out, I look at favorably as well. So I'm not looking at players that come in and just pop off for a single map and then go back to the bench, or maybe they come off the bench and play for one map and pop off. Like that to me doesn't quite cut it, unless like that was a very important map and it was the only thing that got them across the line when everyone else kind of underperformed. Also, I'll say this as well, very, very honorable mention to Violetta and Taka. Like, if I am following some rules here as well, not that rules that haven't been set by anyone except myself, but it's like, I think generally speaking, you want to be giving POTMs to the winning team, because otherwise you do open a can of worms where it's just like, well, I mean, now it's just, now anything goes. But if that can of worms was to be opened hypothetically, yeah, I think either Taka or Violetta, especially Taka, would have been viable for that as well, because they had really good performances despite losing, despite getting crushed. And the only reason why Starlight didn't get crushed harder than that, and why they even capped points and made sure it wasn't a 0-point lockout, is because Violetta ate 5 ults on Blizzard World, and Taka repeatedly got picks on everything he played between the McCree and the Hanzo.
Yeah, Violetta, he heard that there was just an open buffet, and he was like, oh, okay. And then it turned out it was an Overwatch match, but he still made the best of the situation. But yeah, I would completely agree with that assessment as well when you sort of you look across the other side of it on Starlight. And that actually may even be a conversation we have to have time and again when it's O2 Blast opponents, because they're likely to continue to pick up these wins. But you do still want to speak positively of the opposing team when they do perform well, because we keep talking about how when you're up against O2 Blast, it's all about your relative metric. It's, you know, look, I hate to say it, but yeah, go and probably expecting to lose. Don't count yourself out. Never, ever do that. But you can fairly expect to lose, and it's all about what you do accomplish in light of that loss. And yeah, those absolutely were shining beacons. Like, Starlight still showed their potential. They still showed what they can potentially accomplish. It's just O2 Blast is a whole different caliber of team. It's almost not even worth having the conversation, right? Like, put any other team in front of Starlight, and you look at the performances that members like Taka and Violetta had. Like, you eat one ultimate as D.Va at a critical moment, that could swing an entire game, an entire match. You eat 5 over the course of 2 whole maps, like, against any other team. That would have made it so laughably one-sided. Violetta would have probably got man of the match off it alone if Starlight had gone on to win.
I mean, Starlight probably wouldn't have map versus most other teams.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just the Violetta players, it was Taka as well as everybody, you know, doing as much as they can. But versus O2, it does feel like, you know, you're swimming upstream here, you are really climbing a mountain. Doing all you can is basically the way you describe any attempt to try and take down O2. So, O2 once again just proving how strong they are, and the only other thing to talk about in terms of O2 is, okay, they've played up against BM, who are probably just not going to get anything done versus O2. That, by the way, was a 0-point lockout. They played against JNGK, a Trials team, kind of whatever. They play against Starlight, which is, you know, a returning team, but a team that last season didn't do great. There's only one team left now for O2 Blast, and it will be their, you know, intergroup rivals in T1. So in some ways, I think the greater point I'm trying to make is every single game they played has been easy. But also, when you're the best team, I think every game you play will just be easy, because you're what makes the group hard. You are the team that makes things difficult. So every game is just gonna be easy. Yeah.
You are the boss fight. At any rate, though, the boss has been fought, and look, Starlight, maybe they can make another challenge another day. You know, at the end of the day, Korean Contenders is a roguelike. You can always come back for next season. And look, they even get a bit of a second shot, right? Like, if you can make it into the playoffs, maybe you can make something happen there. But at the end of the day, we are done and dusted for now. 3 weeks cleared now. We're past the halfway mark. As you rightly pointed out, O2 only have 1 match ahead of them to potentially slow down their straight 3-0 undefeated march through the group stages. We've only got a couple more, and there's only a few critical matches that are going to be the difference between getting into the play-ins and getting eliminated altogether. But that all will continue next week. For tonight and this week, we are done. Good night.